We have speakers out in the lobby, right?
Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I know we got a lot of people that are still signing in out there. Can everybody that's out there hear us? Is that speaker working? Okay. Well, we'll open up, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I got a couple of proclamations to read. Then maybe that will provide some more seating. I don't know, we'll see how that works, but we'll get through this the best we can, and if we have issues, we'll figure something else out. So. Anyway, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Nathan, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember McPherson.
Here.
Councilmember Biggs. Here. Councilmember Laraway.
Yes.
Council President Bruce.
Here.
Mayor Steer.
Here. And if you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item is the consent agenda. Any questions or comments or things you want pulled for discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as published.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Any discussion on that motion? All right, Nathan, would you poll the council, please?
Councilmember McPherson.
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs.
Yes.
Councilmember Laraway.
Yes.
Council President Bruce.
Yes.
And that motion carries. I think I'll go ahead and do the proclamations first, and then we'll check on the public comment sheet after that. We'll come back to that. All right, first we have Grange Month proclamation. Whereas the Grange strengthens individuals, families, and communities through a grassroots action service, education, advocacy, and agricultural awareness. And whereas the Grange has played a major role in the development of rural America and passage of important legislation during 3 centuries. And whereas the Grange of the 21st century continues to be an active force in thousands of neighborhoods across the country, creating connections between people, communities, and organizations, even through periods of social unrest and disruption. And whereas the Grange is committed to development of potential in families, children, youth, and adults of all ages, through dynamic programs and experiences that educate, engage, and enrich lives. And whereas the Grange emphasizes civic responsibility and the involvement of people in the legislative process, cultivating connections between citizens and their government. And whereas the Grange offers opportunities for civil discussion among people of all viewpoints and opinions, serving as a safe haven for exploring important social and legislative issues of the day. And whereas the Grange strengthens hometowns through volunteerism, community support, and legislative action, building up rural America for the benefit of all who live there. And whereas the Grange motto, in essentials, unity, in non-essentials, liberty, in all things, charity, has guided the Grange mission through advocacy, community service, and openness to all. And whereas Grange members everywhere wish to celebrate and express their pride in the legacy of their highly respected organization, now therefore I, Joe Steer, Mayor of the City of Kuna, do hereby proclaim April 2025 to be Grange Month in the city, county of Kuna, Ada, Idaho. Do we have anybody from the Grange here tonight? Okay, I'll sign this and then let you have that if you'd like. And next we have Week of the Young Child Proclamation. I'll take this off right now. Whereas the Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children, Idaho AEYC, is celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 5 through 11, 2025. And whereas we are working to promote and inspire high-quality early childhood experiences for our state's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in Kuna, Idaho. Whereas teachers and others who work on their behalf of young children, birth through age 8, who make a difference in the lives of young children in Kuna, deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and the prosperity of our society, now therefore, I, Joe Steer, Mayor of the City of Kuna, do hereby proclaim April 5 through 11, 2025 as Week of the Young Child in Kuna, Idaho. And I do hereby recognize that when our community invests in early childhood education and educators, we also invest in our children and families. I know we have someone for this.
Thank you all for what you do.
Yeah, and I'll also say that this has been a very successful program in Kuna, and very, very proud that we have so many people in the city. Kudos to the school district for this. And community members, yeah. All right, that opened up a few seats.
Mr. Mayor, you can ask if some of them, I don't know if they were both filling out separate forms. Some may have put their names on the public comment and may wanted to testify in the hearing, so I don't know. You may want to ask,
Okay.
because I don't know if it's blended or not.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and just, we'll go back to the public comment part. Is there anybody who wishes to address the council through the public comment portion of the meeting? What's that? Okay, I'll check. I want to ask in here, but. Public comment. That's only public comment, nothing to do with the public hearing. All right, Beverly, you may have the floor, please.
Beverly Wolf, 3420 West Commemoration Avenue, Meridian, Idaho. So I'm here to talk about some numbers I was auditing, like the taxes that went through. Last year, the 2023-2024 tax levy was $44,465,842. This year it is $49,374. I believe in the meeting we attended on August 20th, I think it was, we were told it was about an 8% tax increase. I did the math, it's more like 10%. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because that increase, as it was discussed on the floor that night, was a little higher than maybe you actually needed because you were putting some in savings, which I don't know if everybody in this room can do that. Hopefully some of them can. The money is a concern because on February 24th, there was an audit done. The thing that caught my eye that night was the pollution remediation obligation of the city of Kuna. I went back and I looked at the new wastewater plant on 10 Mile, which I'm a neighbor of, and it hasn't complied with clean water for 3 years. It was worse in 2022. It got a little better in 2023, but the report came out that you could be fined up to $113,750 with potentially a $1.1375 million bill to the city. So the reason I'm bringing all these numbers up is that going to be on our 2025, 2026 tax bill? Or are you going to clean it up? And I bring it up again because we have something called a latecomers fee, where the developers get reimbursed for their extra pipe size that they put in. And in fact, in August 2024, Falcon Crest got over $2 million. So I'm wondering why we're still doing that. I found some rare note in a 2014 minutes that said that I believe the latecomers fee were only supposed to last 10 years. I think you're past 10 years. So why do we still have it when we have all these deficits and all these costs on the citizens? Why isn't that larger pipe just a small investment that developers have to make because they're making millions of dollars on us and we get to pay the other side?
Okay, and Beverly, as always, if you would like to stop by at any time, we can go over those individually so that you can, so I can better understand what it is you're exactly looking at, but more than happy to meet with you anytime. Was there anybody else who wished to do public comment? Okay. Well, that takes us to the public hearing then. This is case number 24-01 CPM and 24-01ZC Gemstone Technology Park. Doug Hanson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, Doug Hanson, Planning and Zoning Director, 751 West 4th Street, Kuna. The applicant requests a comprehensive plan map amendment, changing the future land use designation of the subject site from agriculture to industrial, and a rezone from agriculture to M1 light industrial manufacturing zone. The site is located at 3250 South Locust Grove Road. The application was initially proposed over approximately 643.3 acres. The applicant submitted an updated boundary description dropping the acreage to be rezoned by approximately 20.63 acres to 620 acres to provide additional buffering to the neighboring property owners to the north. Negotiations at the time of the Osprey Ridge Development Agreement approval in 2008 were held with the city, Kuna Police Department, Ada County Highway District, Kuna Rural Fire District, Kuna School District, and Kuna Library District. The applicant is actively engaged with or has reached agreements with the aforementioned agencies to mitigate the impacts that may arise as a result of the development. With said agreements in place, the applicant is entitled to file for a comprehensive plan future land use map amendment for future development under the Osprey Ridge Development Agreement. Agency letters are all available for your review within the packet. Upon review, staff finds the application to be in compliance with Kuna City Code, Idaho Code, and the approved Osprey Ridge Development Agreement. Should the council approve the application this evening, staff would recommend the applicant be subject to the conditions of approval as listed in staff's report. And with that, I will stand by for any questions.
All right, any questions for Doug?
Not at this moment.
Okay? Not yet, that sounds scary.
It's ominous.
You want to go, Chris, or you want me to?
You go ahead.
Doug, when was the development agreement originally established?
For the record, Doug Hanson, Kuna Planning and Zoning. The development agreement was recorded on June 23rd, 2008.
And nothing's been done with it?
No.
How many, I guess this is a difficult question, but I ask, what has changed from our position to when that was agreed to update anything? Is there anything needs to be updated before we do this?
There was no term provided in the original development agreement
Okay.
for its expiration.
All right, thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
When did we set up our industrial zone on the east side of Kuna?
So the annexation for that property happened in
Not for that property, but when did we actually set up our industrial zone?
the East Kuna Overlay District. The East Kuna Industrial Overlay District was established in 2002. Well, the future land use map designations for the East Kuna Industrial Overlay District, or at least the East Kuna Industrial designations, were approved in November of 2022. The East Kuna Industrial Overlay District was established with the latest code overhaul. I can't give you an exact date about when
That's
that was
fine.
approved, but about April 2024.
Dates are good, thank you.
Okay, anything further for Doug?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, if the applicant would like to present, state your name and address for the record, please.
Bet. See if I can get this set up here for me. Click it. Yep, thank you. Members of the council, my name is Heath Clark, 251 East Front Street in Boise is my office address. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We have members of our team here, Daniel Barrias, who's been running point on a lot of these discussions with the various agencies here in town. John Michael Hanley is our Senior Project Development Manager, and then Rachel Atterbury is our COO. So we're here to discuss two applications associated with one project. So this is a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezone to permit a new data center. As we'll discuss in greater detail, the data center will not connect to city water or sewer. It will be a huge contributor to city property taxes and will in addition be providing extremely significant contributions to emergency service providers. So let me walk you through this. So the application area includes approximately 620 acres south of Cunamora Road between Cloverdale and Locust Grove. It's generally southeast of town against an Idaho Power transmission corridor on the south. It also happens to be along one of my favorite bike routes that I ride about once a week. The property is located at the edge of the area of city impact. The future land use designation for the property is currently ag, but there is public ground, as you can see on the south, and residentially planned property just to the north. We are asking to adjust that designation to industrial in order to permit this extremely low-intensity industrial use so that it would look like this. The proposal is for a 620-acre project for, again, just for a data center. It will be one zone, it will be one user. Nothing has changed from our original application. There is no solar component of this project. This is only for a data center. The project is going to be phased in order to minimize disruptions to neighbors. We're looking at a phasing plan of about 10 years. And once constructed, it will have very little impact on services. In fact, as you saw in the packet, it's not going to connect to water, it's not going to connect to city wastewater, it's going to be providing those on its own, and so you have a letter from Public Works Department supporting that plan. Talk a little bit about benefits. So during the construction phase, we expect 800 to 1,200 construction jobs. Once constructed, the facility will move into its permanent operations phase with about 100 permanent jobs. Again, no connection to city water and sewer. We will, however, be working with Idaho Power to improve area transmission facilities in the area that would allow for greater grid reliability in the general region, not just for our project. And in terms of the use itself, it's quiet. It does not generate a bunch of noise or traffic, but it does provide a substantial local investment in the tune of the billions. Given the very high value of the project and some of the constraints that we now have, as all of you are aware, in light of House Bill 389, this will be paying in a significant amount of property taxes that should actually reduce the property tax burden across the entirety of the city. This is the preliminary conceptual design. On the north is the undeveloped buffer area. This will help ensure that the area retains its open rural character and buffers against current and future neighboring uses. Moving south, you can see the data processing campus. The primary access is going to be down here on Barker. There's a secondary that's been discussed over here on Locust Grove. This is what was discussed with Planning and Zoning Commission. On the south, we will have the electrical and private utility facilities, including the water treatment plant. All of this is right next to the existing Idaho Power transmission corridor on the south. Again, the project's going to be phased to minimize those disruptions, and as I mentioned, 800 to 1,200 construction phase jobs with ultimately 100 permanent jobs. With regard to water use, I think it's worth talking about that briefly to kind of compare the current ag use to what the eventual use will be. As you saw in the packet, the property does not have surface water. It's high ground, so but it does have a groundwater right. Under Idaho laws, you're probably aware, when you convert an ag groundwater right, you lose about a third of that during the IDWR conversion process. So the overall allowed water would go down by about 33%. In addition, when you talk about the use at a data center compared to ag use, you have less actual use of the water itself. In some cases, you may only be using the water for the office facilities. In other cases, you may be using it with the cooling technologies, but it will be less use. So overall, the allowed use under the water right will go down by a third, and then it will be less actual use than ag would be itself. So now you've got a little bit of familiarity with the project. Let's talk about process and that development agreement. So as you know, the property is subject to the development agreement from 2008, which is often referred as the Osprey Ridge Development Agreement. It has created an expectation of development in this area. This area is not going to be ag forever. It did focus on, at the time, I think it was contemplated that it would be residential. So if you had 600 acres of residential development at an R3, you can imagine that that would generate a fair number of homes, especially if you're looking at a range of 3 units per acre. What we're doing here is taking it out of that and changing the proposed use. So the DA sets the table for that development, but it doesn't mandate a particular development outcome. It does, however, require anyone who develops in this area to jump through a number of hoops, including agreements with agencies to ensure that impacts are mitigated. So we concluded with staff that it benefits the city to keep that DA in place and that we should jump through those hoops. And they are significant. I've done a number of planned communities throughout the state. And this DA is very similar in that it requires us to identify those impacts and then go have agreements with all the various agencies to make sure that those impacts are addressed. So of note, there's really 4 agencies that we're focused on. That's the school district, the police, the fire district, and the library district. But I think it's important to keep in mind that with this DA, you have strong protections in place. These are hoops that we wouldn't necessarily have to jump through with annexed property without that DA. And it takes that 600 acres out of residential with this project and replaces it with that light intensity industrial use that's going to contribute significantly to the tax rolls. So before talking about those agency agreements, I do want to talk about the community engagement. Diode's done a really good job of being engaged with the community. I think it's evidenced by the letters that you have in your packet. Letters that are in the packet are all in support. We all know that that doesn't happen very often, and that's a feature of that outreach. We also have been meeting with other stakeholders. So we're in late stage agreements with Idaho Power to provide power to the site. Worked with CUNA Public Works regarding that decision not to connect to the CUNA Public Water and wastewater systems. Of course, that our systems will have to have Central District Health, DEQ, IDWR approvals before they can go online. So this is not a matter of we're just on an island doing our own thing. We still have to jump through all of those agency requirements. And of course, we have been working with ACHD. With ACHD, we submitted not 1, but 2 traffic impact studies. We have one that's for the eventual ongoing operations of the project, and then we have another one that's for the construction era of the project. ACHD's provided some comments with regard to the improvements that we would like to make in regard to the construction phase, and those conversations are ongoing, and we will continue to work with ACHD on that. But Doug has covered the city because he's included a condition of approval that requires us to have ACHD approval of what that mitigation will ultimately be. And to be clear, a lot of that is going to happen at the actual construction phase when those drawings come in and are ultimately approved by ACHD. So now let's talk about what we've done. And there is an error on this page that needs to be updated. So we've been hard at work with each of those 4 agencies that I mentioned. We've been meeting with them over the past several months, and there is a typo on the CUNA School District one. That should be $500,000, but let me give you some background on that. We have a memorandum of agreement that's been signed with CUNA School District that provides for that payment of $500,000, and it benefits primarily athletic facilities as well as technology programs. The CUNA School District voted unanimously to approve that agreement and authorize signature of the MOU at their January 2025 meeting. The MOU that CUNA School District signed included confirmation and an agreement to provide written testimony that our contribution is adequate to, quote, satisfy any and all obligations of Diode to the school district in connection with our entitlements. And Mr. Mayor, could I have maybe 2 minutes to finish up?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. So there is a letter from CUNA School District in addition that's in your packet that confirms that partnership. And keep in mind, I think it's important to note that is not a payment in lieu of taxes. That's in addition to the property taxes that the project is going to pay. So it'll be contributing millions of dollars in property taxes over its life with, as we see it, very little impact on the school district. So let's go to fire and police. With regard to those agencies, it's important to emphasize a couple of things. You know, we recognize the pinch that the legislature has put on local governments with House Bill 389. You know, in my view, it's poor policy. It throws out decades of budgeting and planning and hamstrings local communities that are under growth pressure like CUNA. With that in mind, we went to your staff and we went to CUNA Rural Fire District, and we said, okay, we understand that House Bill 389 is there. What are your needs? What needs to be addressed for this to be able to work? So with regard to police, we arrived at an agreement regarding police services. We'll be making annual payments to the city. This says $10 million. We added a cost of living adjustment to that, so it brings it closer to about $12 million. That essentially funds a sergeant for the city on an ongoing basis, which is what we understand is the ultimate need. Now, of course, this project by itself doesn't require a sergeant, right? It doesn't, we think that mitigation's well beyond our actual impact, but we also understand the reality of the situation and what the city needs. And we made the offer accordingly. You have a letter from the police chief confirming that. The language of the MOU that we've prepared has been reviewed by Mr. Bybee. That would be available for the city council in the event that we receive an approval. We anticipate that that would come back with the written findings for you to review. So next we have CUNA Rural Fire. We've been meeting with Chief Lawrence and Crystal Hinkle over the past several months, and it almost takes my breath away to say this, but the applicant has proposed a mitigation package valued at close to $32 million. Approximately half of those payments are going to be front-loaded to the first 3 years of the project. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never seen a contribution like that before. The applicant heard the need from the CUNA Rural Fire District, which was to provide for personnel costs to get Station 3 opened once they were able to get it built, and to get a ladder truck, and so we made the offer accordingly. The CUNA Rural Fire District Commissioners reviewed that offer yesterday, and they have signed an MOU agreeing to that arrangement. Then finally, we have CUNA Library District. You have a letter in your file indicating that they do not believe that we'd have an impact on them now that the property would not be developed residentially. And in other words, they see the significance of this not being residential anymore and it being industrial. So I'll just wrap up with this. In a very real sense, that development agreement has been a significant protection for the city. As I mentioned, I don't know that the city or the agencies would legally be able to ask for what they've asked for if you didn't have that development agreement in place requiring these agreements. In other words, a public-private partnership as a result of that development agreement is filling the needs that the city really has already. So we would ask that this council work with us to be able to move this forward by approving the requested comp plan amendment and rezone. And I think I might have gone over 2 minutes, Mr. Mayor, so I'll be quiet and answer questions.
Okay, thank you. Council have questions for the applicant.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Laraway, go ahead.
I have some clarification questions. I guess, first of all, the property that's going to be to the north is going to be, you claim is a buffer zone? Is that going to be left natural?
Yeah, Councilmember Laraway, that's a very good question. So we understand that it's already being farmed right now, right? So it will need to be brought into a state where it's not going to be a hazard or a nuisance. We would anticipate putting natural seeds and grasses out there to be able to make sure that but we will make sure that it's properly maintained.
And a follow-up to that, if that's going to be used for farming, does the water going to be coming from your well? It still stays at 33%, or is that going to be additional?
Oh, Commissioner Laraway, no, this will not, that buffer area up front will not be farmed.
Okay.
It's currently being farmed, and so that's why I make the point about it needs to go from being farmed to a stable condition with native grasses and that sort of thing so that it doesn't become a noxious weed problem.
And I guess this is the toughest question I'm going to ask you. Not that I don't appreciate the numbers you're throwing towards the fire department and police department, but why the disparity with the school district? And here's my reason for asking. You're talking about 800 to 1,200 jobs, and I'm assuming this build-out's going to probably take 3 or 4 years at least. That's families that are going to be moving here that is going to impact the school. So I'm just wondering where'd that number come from that's so disparately different from the other ones?
Yeah, Councilmember Laraway. So here's where that's coming from. We went to each of these agencies and we said, what do you need? Right? This was not an auction. This wasn't like show up and push the best deal possible. It was police. We sat down with Jared, we sat down with Morgan, and we said, okay, policing, what do you need? And it was, we need a sergeant. And so we went back to our drawing board, and we came back with an offer that we thought addressed that need. Same with CUNA Rural Fire. We came to CUNA Rural Fire with a yearly amount, And in fact, they asked us to front load those payments, and that's kind of what took us to, not having an agreement until just in the last couple of days was trying to sort that out. We had initial conversations with the school district, identified 500,000 as being something that would help with technology needs, because that was one of the issues that had been identified as a need, and so we offered that, and that was what was agreed to. But it wasn't like, hey, we're playing favorites. We weren't trying to address, say, I like Chief Lawrence's uniform a lot better than what somebody else is wearing. It wasn't anything like that. It was based on those specific conversations.
I appreciate it. It just surprised me because the police department and the fire department have impact fees where they could collect. School districts have nothing, so I was really wondering where that number came from.
Yeah, and Councilmember Laraway, maybe I can clarify that a little bit. So those impact fees, though, can't be used for personnel costs.
Correct.
And so really what we're addressing with both the sergeant and the Cuna Rural Fire District is those ongoing personnel costs. Now, we did also agree to prepay impact fees to help get that ladder truck there earlier, but it's personnel costs that is the issue, not capital facilities.
That's it. Thank you for me.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay?
I was gonna just, I guess, joining on to this, the school, thing with the, lack of impact fees that the school can collect. There will be an impact, like you said, with 1,200 possible jobs coming over here, over a 10-year build-out. So schools would be affected, and we have some serious capacity issues here. So that's probably, I guess, a little bit of my concern. But I wanted to ask about the water. Is there a precedent that you're using, or a model that you're using for another data center where you're getting your water usage and then also putting it back into the aquifer, I guess, where you're getting that from?
Yeah, Councilmember Biggs, so two points. With regard to your first point on the school district, we did reach out to the school district and say, are we addressing your needs? They signed an MOU saying that we're addressing their needs. They sent a letter saying that they were in support of the project. So, I mean, I think that's important that that's what's in the record with regard to their position as to whether it's being addressed or not. With regard to water, yes, the Diode has worked at a number of different data centers across the country. We actually have some comparisons that we can show you. And I've got other people here that are smarter than me on this sort of thing, but we can look at the water consumption comparisons. And so this is something that our engineers put together. So, if you compare to pasture irrigation or sugar beet or turf, those uses these are the kind of the general rule of thumb in terms of the use as compared to the data center use. Does that help?
Well, that helps. I just, as far as reading this, but I do know data centers take a lot of water to cool, so.
And I would just remind everybody that, yeah, we have there's existing water for the ag right, and that's gonna come down by 33% before we even start. So, I think that the area is pretty well protected on that.
And that's where I guess my question came about the standard, or whatever you're using as the example, because I wasn't sure that's an independent assessment, or if that was just from Diode.
So the 33% is just Idaho state law.
No, where you were estimating that you're gonna be using less than 30.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
correct.
what I meant.
Yep, correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember McPherson.
Yes, you addressed the payments front-loading to the fire district, and I heard a little brief bit about the payments to the PD. When does the school district receive their kickback from you?
Yeah, let me.
Well, whatever it's called.
Kickback.
Payment, sorry, lack of a better word.
Yeah, under the MOU that's been signed. Under the MOU that's been signed, there would be a $100,000 contribution within 45 days of approval of the entitlements. So all of this is contingent on us having a project, obviously. So, and then the remainder within 45 days of approval of construction drawings.
Okay.
So
Now, my next question, you talked about the water usage and this and that, and then the buffer zone. If the data center uses such a significant less amount on that buffer zone area, why not allow that to continue to be farmed? Why does it have to go back to grass or natural, whatever? To me, that spells fire hazard in the long run. But we'll have staffing for it, so that's great. But it just doesn't, it seems counterproductive to me.
Councilmember McPherson, yeah, I think the way I would put that is that that's kind of the anticipated use. If it makes sense to farm it, then we're certainly open to that sort of thing. But the idea is to have a buffer against the daily use. And so we would generally keep it within our control, know who's out there, on all that sort of thing. But we're open. That's not a hard and fast. We'd be open to looking at different alternatives.
Okay. I think that's all I have for now.
Okay, Councilmember Bruce.
Thank you for the presentation. So the water you're going to be using, are you going to be bringing it out of the ground? Is that what? And have you looked at the temperature that comes out? Because we had the data center that went in before who was going to use the water that came out of the ground, but it was at a higher temperature, and then they had to rework it. If that is the case, have you thought about what that's going to look like?
I'm calling for reinforcements on that one.
Mayor Steer, council members, John Michael Hanley, Senior Project Manager with Diode Ventures, headquartered out of 11401 Lamar Avenue, Overland Park, Kansas. So to answer your question, yes, we've done some testing on the groundwater withdrawal and what those temperatures are. I don't have them off the top of my head, but they're at least at a usable state.
And and let's say they're not, what would that be as far as power consumption? Is what you're going to use now, what would that add to the power consumption that you're going to need for the future? Say you had to switch from a wet system to more of an power consumption used to cool it.
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head conceptually. The less water you use, the more power you do need to use for cooling. And I know one of these slides kind of did a side-by-side in terms of most least and minimal water. We're at the rezoning stage, and so we haven't gone through the level of design that would select the cooling technology for building one, let alone the whole campus. That's just kind of a risk mitigation. We don't know that you all have approved that this use can go in the first place.
And I think the reason I ask is because once we do this, then it becomes tough for us to stop it. Right, once we rezone it and say, hey, we're okay with it, it's essentially saying we're okay with the project. On the other thing, on the power consumption, I did a presentation about power usage in the Northwest in general, and they said that our transmission lines are 6 to 7 years. That's before Meta comes on and before this data center would come on. Have you looked at anything in regards to that? Any cost it would be? My problem is that I don't want the burden to fall on the user here around us.
Right. So to answer your question, thank you, Councilman Bruce, for it. We've been working with Idaho Power for well over a year at this point. There's a whole interconnection process that a large load has to go through with that utility. That involves putting down large deposits in the hundreds of thousands for them to fund the studies that would really inform them and us on what those costs are. So that's a construction study for the transmission improvements that would need to be made. Those have been done and redone, actually, and so we're aware of the transmission upgrades that could be required, and those costs would fall on us as the developer. Separately, there's the generation, and I think that that's something that as well we would have to be responsible for any changes to be made.
And then maybe you can, what would be the cost of this facility?
The cost of this facility, in terms of construction expenses, this is well into the billions.
And so I'm assuming you would file for the AREVA exemption, right? So you'd only pay on 400 million of it?
My understanding is that's still an option right now, and so that's something that we'd be exploring.
So you'd be saving hundreds of millions of dollars to move it here?
There is not a moving going on. This is an entirely new facility. This is not replacing anything.
Right. Do you have other facilities that you currently have developed?
Diode has developed other facilities across the country, Kansas City, Minnesota, working on some across the country. Diode has not to date owned and operated any of these, but we have extensive experience with the large-scale data center owners and operators.
And then the jobs, I know that we talk about 800 to 1,200 jobs once it's fully going. And that's what we talked about with the other data facility when it moved here. But they took bids from Idaho but brought in other companies to do that. Is there some kind of guarantee that you can use Idaho companies?
I don't think that would be market or standard or necessarily even enforceable. The intent is always to work with whatever local resources are there. For one, it does best for the community. For two, that is ultimately just the most cost-effective method of supplying your workforce. So I think it's safe to say that every effort would be made to recruit from local workforces before bringing folks in. Now, there is opportunities for construction management or for GCs where some of the higher-ups who are project executives may not be local to the area. That's pretty typical of almost every project.
And then the jobs that we'll provide here are roughly 100 jobs. Will those jobs be from here as well, or will they be imported also?
I can't speak to the employment strategies for the end user. Generally, if there's someone in the area, that's a competitive advantage. And it's not something that there's a particular lookout for only hiring in one particular place.
Well, and the reason I ask is because when you come here and you put it in the packet that we're going to add 100 jobs, you know, most people think they'll be from here. So, thank you. I don't have any other questions at this time.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay, anything further for the applicant? No. Okay, thank you very much. All right, this is a public hearing, and we have quite a few people signed up. We'll start with David. If anybody didn't get a chance to sign in that's going to want to, I'll ask at the end so that we can make sure everybody gets to comment that wants to. But so I'll start with David Crawford. If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Mayor, council members, David Crawford, 2323 South Vista Avenue in Boise. I'm here representing a local business owner and resident of the area, Tim Gordon. He wanted me to stand before you today and let you know that he is in support of the project. I testified for the Planning and Zoning Commission as well, and we had provided a letter dated January 27th, 2025. That letter specifically details how we feel this project is in concert with the comprehensive plan and the City of Cuna's codes. I'm not going to belabor that here again tonight, but it's a pretty detailed letter we felt really showed support for this project. Mr. Gordon has expressed his support of the project as presented, feels like it's of economic interest to the City of Cuna to have this project advance its interests. Both have high-paying quality jobs during construction and after construction. It's in the right location, subject to the Idaho Power transmission lines. With this in mind, we respectfully request the City Council approve the Gemstone Technology Park project, and I'll stand for any questions you have.
Okay, questions for Mr. Crawford?
You said Mr. Gordon? Mm-hmm. Is that who it was? Okay, I was just looking up the letter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, next we have Tim Gordon.
Sorry to double time you. Tim Gordon, 2598 West Cuna Road. And I thought of my history here in Cuna since 1986, when the city was 1,800 people, to the point in time now that we're at 30,000. And I've sat through a lot of hearings regarding development, most of which were homes and the people that come with them. And there's a tax burden for that. And we all end up, in being a residential community at that time, businesses are coming to Cuna now to help offset some of that residential taxation cost. And this, to me, looks amazing. I don't know what, I would like to know what the tax base would be on an annual basis, because that could, give us a lot of information about the benefit of it for the community. But if they're going to come in and provide a commercial base like that, that will offset our residential taxpayers. And I think that's something we've much needed. We've supported the Boys and Girls Club here in Cuna because there's a need for that. The Yamamotos, whose property this is, they have been amazing people since since Dwayne was a mayor and he put in the first sidewalks many, many years ago. And this offers them an opportunity, but I think it also offers the city of Kuna an opportunity to get support there so that we, and that will help the schools. That tax base will help the schools. There will be homes that will be built for the people that will work there, but that will be an additional tax base, but I'm sure it won't be anywhere near the tax base that comes from this project. So I offer my support and recommend you approve it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gordon?
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dana Hennis.
Yes, hi, Dana Hennis, 3505 South Locust Grove Road. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, for letting me speak. Most of you know that I have kind of helped to volunteer and serve in the city to try to kind of help with the direction of the city for many years, ever since this Osprey Ridge development kind of came in my back door. I am one of the closest members or landowners to this facility. I was I was involved in the comprehensive land use map when we pushed the industrial kind of out towards the eastern barrier where we've got it now. First thing I saw when this got the notice is, why are we going back to light industrial where we are? I want to say first off that I'm in support of this, because the Osprey Ridge development has a lot of homes that are going to be possible over that 3,600 acres. At an R3, we're talking tens of thousands of homes, 18,000 homes. And so that has a huge burden on our city when it comes to schools, and the busing, and the area that it's at. I really feel that this is a better use of that acreage. The Yamamotos have been a great neighbor. They've spent several years trying to sell that property to an appropriate user, and I think this user has come. I'm the first to watch the city and make sure that we're trying to do appropriate things, or at least I hope to think I'm trying to be a party to directing the city or helping make sure that, we're trying to do things correctly. But I really feel that even moving this industrial complex back to right in front of me is a better usage than trying to put in a bunch of homes. And I think the school district ultimately will benefit because they don't have that burden. Like I said, the Yamamotos have gotten a good opportunity to go ahead and retire with this, and I hope to see that you approve this. So, any questions?
Okay, questions for Mr. Hennis?
Yes, I do, by the way. Since you live so close, what is the railroad crossing traffic right there like? Because there's quite a sharp little bend.
No, the bend is actually down near Eagle Road, more or less. We've got a pretty straight shot from just north of that to where the Locust Grove is through the city. So we maybe get a couple of trains a day during traffic times, usually when I'm going to work, it seems like. But it doesn't seem like it's as a huge trouble as it is more where the trains cross in your town a little bit more.
Right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Shaylee Murray.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm going to read so I don't miss anything in my 3 minutes, so I apologize for that.
No, that's fine.
Ma'am, can you state your name?
Oh, Shaylee Murray. I'm at 3289 East Indian Trail Lane, right off of Locust Grove. Our property borders Locust Grove and Indian Trail. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I am here regarding the proposed rezoning of the agricultural land just 1 mile south of my home. My husband and I have 5 children, all attending the Kuna schools. We love this community, its schools, and its people, and most importantly, its agricultural roots. Farming is the heart of Kuna, and that's exactly why we chose to raise our family here 12 years ago. I grew up in a small dairy farming community in northern Utah, and I have seen firsthand what happens when agricultural land is rezoned. My parents' farm was once surrounded by other farms, but after one piece of land was changed from agricultural to industrial, the shift was inevitable. One by one, the farms disappeared, either sold by children who inherited them or overtaken by urban expansion. Today, my parents' farm is the last one standing, surrounded by warehouses and neighborhoods. That is exactly what could happen in Kuna if the rezoning is approved. Once you allow industrial development, it sets a precedence, and soon the surrounding farmland follows. The decision doesn't just impact one property, it will change the future of our town. Beyond the loss of agricultural land, the traffic impact alone is alarming. As an avid runner and cyclist, which is interesting that we ride the same route, however, if you have the data processing plant, the ACHD reports, an estimated 1,500 additional trips per day. If you are a cyclist and you are riding when there are cement trucks driving by, there's no way you can cycle on those roads anymore. I enjoy the safety and the clean air of the rural roads. That's why we moved here. Many of those supporting this rezoning do not live near the impacted areas. They won't be dealing with the daily influx of the construction vehicles, the cement trucks, and the industrial traffic. Please take that into account as you listen to each testimony of where the people live and who are impacted by this. I also want to address the concerns about community awareness. I only learned about the rezoning on Sunday night. In short time since, I have been reaching out to neighbors, and many were either unaware or uninformed of what is happening. Originally, it was stated that access to the development would only be from Cloverdale. However, ACH state plans indicate additional entrance on Locust Grove, a small road ill-equipped to handle this kind of traffic. Those of us living in this area do not want or need this disruption. I urge you to not rush this decision. We need more time to fully understand the long-term effects on our community. Yes, there is always a threat of development. That is always there and will always be there. But this land has remained agricultural. If we stand firm, we can preserve Kuna's farming heritage for years to come. This is not about one rezoning request. This is about protecting the identity of our town. As city council members, you have the power to stop this. And I ask, perhaps even beg you to consider the lasting impact on Kuna. Once we lose our farmland, we never get it back. Let's preserve the community we love. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, questions for Ms. Murray?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not able to read this next name. I'm just going to say your address. 3327 South Locust Grove.
Guilty.
Omar.
Omar, okay.
Hey, Omar Bernal, 3327 South Locust Grove. I second everything Shaylee said. We live right across the buffer zone, so we're right there. We have 3 kids. We use the road all the time. We know it'll bring a lot of traffic to the area. The bus stop stops there. It'll change everything, just like Shaylee said. I'm not in full support of the project moving forward. I know you guys can do something about it. I'll keep my talk brief. I know Shaylee covered everything I wanted to say. We use that road all the time. It's the only way in and out. It's very small. I know it just, I don't think it's fit to be able to have the amount of traffic for the next 10 years. It'll completely change our life, the way we live. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, questions?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Omar.
Kelly Hardy.
Hi, my name is Kelly Hardy. I live at 680 Martisan Avenue in Kuna, just right over there. This is my first time doing this, but I was raised in the Treasure Valley since I was 3, so not a native, but almost. And I live in the first house I ever bought here in Kuna. It's all I'm ever going to live in. It's what I hope to pass on to my daughter, who's also here today. So just say that to let you know that I'm very invested in this town. Sorry, my alarm is going off. I greatly apologize. So I'm here to testify again in opposition to this. And also, I also was not aware of this despite being on the City of Kuna pages and the City Council pages and everything else. So I don't know how to get onto future data center awareness sites, but I would like to be more aware of them. So anyhow, I don't have a lot of research, but these are my concerns based on what happened after Meta came into town, and we also didn't have a lot of awareness with that. I do appreciate the information we were presented today from the Diode folks, but these are my concerns. And the big question I would like the council to think about is, would we take this deal if it didn't come with the checks that are being written by this company today? Meaning, would we accept the risks that are coming long-term with these centers, some of the risks that we are not aware of? They do take a lot of water, and I did look up, they do take water about the same amount as some of the crops do every day, but the crops are not being irrigated or watered every day like a data center is. Also, I looked up some of the numbers for the water usage of these data sites, from 330 gallons a day to 1.1 million gallons a day is estimated from this website. That is a website that's used for data centers. It's like a news center for data centers, datacenterdynamics.com. But one of the things that struck me is that the total numbers are not known because the data is hidden. So my question and concern is, who is going to monitor the use of the water? And these data centers take a huge amount of energy as well. Do we know what the long-term risks are? It's nice to have a tax break, but in my history as a taxpayer, I've only experienced a tax break when there has been a huge recession. I have never experienced a promised tax break from any of my governmental officials. Even though I appreciate everything that you do, that is not a huge selling point for me. One other point that I wanted to make is that it's great that this will bring jobs into town, but the long-term jobs for those 600 acres is 100 jobs. As a comparison, CS Meatpackers, that takes up several acres, gives jobs to 700 to 1,000 people. That's what I got out of the few minutes of research that I was able to do. Those are great neighbors for us, and they contributed $5 million to build our Boys and Girls Club that my child benefits from today. So that's what I have to say for that. Any questions?
Okay, question?
Thank you for
Thank you
coming
very
out.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy Yamamoto.
Judy Yamamoto, 5255 West Hubbard Road, Kuna, Idaho. Some of you may not know, my husband passed away a little over a month ago in February. What has made a big change in our family, what has not changed, is that my husband has wanted to provide for us and for the security of our children, and to contribute to Kuna like he always has in the years that he was mayor, that he served on the Boys and Girls Club committee, that he did a lot of things for the Kuna community. My husband was a farmer until he was in his early 80s, and this property he took out of the native ground, sagebrush and lava rock, and it's part of his, almost like one of his children. So we know that a lot of people do not like to see agriculture go away. To a lot of people, it's the scenery. I mean, you like to see trees and things, but you don't like to see houses. So, as they said before, 620 acres would put a lot of houses. And even now, when you drive around Kuna, you see a lot of signs up that are having subdivisions coming before planning and zoning and city council. So some of the problems that we have are things that are being caused by growth. Growth is inevitable. And so when you have growth, you have needs. And some of the needs can be taken up by commercial things. Yes, we don't like to see traffic, but one of the things that you need to realize is that there is always, I would like to say, more is never enough. It doesn't matter how many things you have come to CUNA and cities that grow, they always have more needs, things that the need for the growth of the city. So are we in this position partly because of our own future of how we want to manage our city? My husband had always felt that the way that we can take care of each other is to make sure that we have the values that we can put into things, programs for kids. Kids don't see some of the things that we have for the benefit of them. When my husband was mayor, shortly after that, the community wanted a swimming pool. I mean, how many kids do we have that would love to have a swimming pool? The city is not able to do that because other funds that are needed more for other things that kids can't see. So our future is our kids. And this is one way that we can help. And my husband will still be able to contribute to what he has done. So I urge and humbly ask that this request for a planning rezone be granted.
Thank you, Judy, and we certainly do recognize how important Dwayne was to the community. He was, he's top-notch people. Tricia Waters.
Good evening, Tricia Waters, 4872 North Hickory Twigway in Boise, Idaho. Thank you, City Council, Mayor, and the community members this evening for allowing us to speak. As my mom mentioned, you know, my family has a long history in Idaho and CUNA and been cornerstones of this community for over 60 years. My late father always said his family came to CUNA for the opportunity, but stayed because of the people. My parents love this community, its people, and the deep sense of belonging. Having been raised here with my siblings, I too have a deep appreciation for this tight-knit community. Though offers from home builders and solar projects have been presented to us, we believe the Gemstone Technology Park is a far better use of the land for both our family, but for the community. This project closely aligns with our family values and my dad's wishes to be good stewards of the land, promoting community prosperity, ensuring responsible planning for sustainable long-term growth while incorporating environmentally conscious practices. And Gemstone Technology Park checks all of these boxes. To benefit the community, the facility will provide sustainable tax base and create permanent jobs while not burdening the schools, police, fire, emergency services, or traffic on local roadways. Growing up here in CUNA, we understand the loss of farmland is not the first choice. Our family, we're farmers. We've been farmers for as long as I can remember. But we've had no serious interest from farmers due to its size, the location, and the rising land values. Diode really is the first opportunity in almost 20 years that aligns with our family's values and what my dad was his wishes. You know, Gemstone is favorable because it's not another housing development, a solar project, or heavy industrial. And again, it provides a solid tax base and good local paying jobs. My parents have endured significant hardships early in life with this property. And because of that, they have a strong emotional attachment to this property, as well as we do as a family growing up, being kids of farmers. You know, and although my father is no longer here to realize the fruits of his labor, fortunately my mother is, and she does deserve to retire. And this path allows their land to continue to contribute to the community in a meaningful way. We thank you for your consideration, and I ask for your support to rezone my parents' property, not only so that my mother can realize the fruits of their labor, but so that the next chapter of this land will continue to benefit the city that my parents, for over 60 years, have poured their blood, sweat, and tears into for more than 2 decades. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tim Jensen. Oh, okay.
Good choice, probably.
Punt, good strategy.
Well, I just didn't want to say the same things that.
Yeah, you're fine. Thank you. Michael Thornton.
Michael Thornton, 2800 South Forey Road, Kuna, Idaho. Mayor and councilman, thank you for letting me address you today. I don't have a whole lot to say. I farm right next to the property that's with my dad and my brother. I am concerned about the traffic, especially with trying to move equipment around. The amount of traffic that will put a significant impact on how we farm, getting from place to place. I also serve on the school board. I'm not here on that capacity. I'll let Trustee, when she gets to that part, address some of those things. Yeah, and I'm concerned with the traffic, concerned with this large building, and then I'm also concerned with that, the buffer zone. I believe that should stay agriculture if possible. Should be farmed. I guess to me, there's not really a guarantee that they won't put anything there. They say that now, but what happens in 10 years or 20 years when they think they need to expand? And that puts it that much closer to those neighbors that are right there. I used to live where Omar lived. I had kids running around on that road, and it was nice because there wasn't as much traffic. And I do know that the school bus, there's not a whole lot of room for that school bus to get down that road currently. They have to turn around in that driveway to when they're picking up the kids. So that's all I have to say. Is there any questions or anything?
Okay, questions for Mr. Thornton? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on.
Don Haida, did you wish to testify? No? Okay.
Was he in favor, opposition, or neutral?
In opposition. Brian Stewart.
Brian Stewart, 1405 South Locust Grove. Mr. Mayor and council members, I have two things that I have concerns about. The first being, I'm well aware of the zoning of this area. I was planning and zoning commissioner at the time that it was annexed, and that the agricultural annexation was put on that property. I know that it wasn't put there necessarily for the agricultural reasons. It was put there because, and annexed as part of the LID for the sewer connections that were needed in the city, or supposedly needed at the time. The location of that property to the rural residential, the RR designation in the county, and those other surrounding property owners, makes it a significant change to what we're trying to do with our properties. I farm. I have a small property, and I rent ground around me to keep in agricultural, and that use, in my mind, works better on the east side of Cloverdale, further out towards the other industrial properties that have been approved and built. By having that property be rural residential, it allows for people like me to build on acreage, and allows us to have and preserve the residential or rural farmland. And I also agree that all that we're doing by putting natural grass in that buffer area is creating a fire hazard. I don't know if anybody's ever been south of town. It catches on fire once in a while. And it's because there's nothing to stop that from happening. And there's a lot of public use that cause that, but it still is an issue. My second concern is primarily traffic. I live on the corner of King Road and Locust Grove. It is a dead end, Locust Grove is a dead end road, both directions from my house. At this property, it dead ends. Barker Road is not a road, it is a private access down at that point. The traffic going north past my house is dead end. Eagle Road does not go through to the south. Strobel Road does not go north and south through. So all of the traffic that comes down Locust Grove is directed to that intersection, and then it has to disperse to another road before it can even get to a through road. It is forcing traffic down a bunch of dead-end short roads that disperse back. And I took a picture the other day of the traffic backed up at Strobel and Keene, because there was a train, and that traffic went for a mile past my house, and it went a half a mile down Strobel. And adding the construction traffic is going to cause more problems with that. That's traffic coming from the industrial park right now. That's where it all comes from. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions for? No. Thank you. Thank you. If you guys are okay with it, we'll take a real short recess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta go. You just pounded a water.
Huh?
Pounded a water. Or soda.
This is my zero, no caffeine, zero sugar.
Yes. Figured. I gotta find him here. Well, I guess I don't have to find him.
There's a bill on the governor's desk now, that lady was talking about bicycles. That the money can no longer be used.
Uh-huh. All right, if we're ready to get started ahead, we'll go ahead and do that. Thank you for your patience there. Anthony Miller.
My name's Anthony Miller. I live at 10597 Cunamora Road. And thank you, Mayor and Council. My concern here today is the traffic. The Locust Grove is pretty much a goat trail, so you're gonna have to go down Cloverdale. And I live 2 miles from the Meta deal, so I'm the nearest neighbor to the west. I have a front row seat on what's happened there. And tonight, when I came here, I had to wait, the traffic was already backed up 2 miles, and I've often seen it 3 miles to the light at Cole. So that's my main concern, that this is gonna cause thousands and thousands of truck trips, and service rig trips, and employee trips, and so forth, so you're gonna have to do some traffic improvement on Cloverdale, because we already have the Meta project, which is gonna go on for a few more years. And it's pretty much a miss, and I support this project, by the way, I supported Meta. So that's my concern. And another thing, since you brought up the buffer zone, I farmed out there in that wildfire overlay district for years. That's gonna be a disaster if you just leave that natural grass, because that's cheatgrass, which burns like gasoline.
Sure.
So that's it for me. Any questions?
All right, questions for Anthony?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, hey, thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much, appreciate it. I think Gannon is the last name. 1104 Jensen, Boise, Idaho.
Gannon?
Oh,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name's John Gannon, 1104 Johnson Street in Boise. Two concerns I wanted to address. First is the property tax, because I am an Ada County property taxpayer as well as ACHD. The property tax, if a company invests more than $1 billion, then the cap on the value is $400 million. I specifically asked a member of the Tax Commission on the record at a legislative hearing that question. She said yes, if you had a $4 billion, and she said there had been an inquiry at the commission, $4 billion value, that $4 billion value would be taxed at a $400 million value for tax purposes, 10% of value. That's a big concern, I think, because at $400 million, you're going to get at a 0.006% tax. 1% would be $4 million a year. 0.006 would be about $2.4 million a year in taxes. That would go to all the different entities. If you had tax at full value, at the $4 billion, you would have a $24 million tax being paid each year, and that would be divided accordingly between all the entities. So that's the first concern. Second concern is the electricity. I think it's important for any applicant in this environment to explain exactly where they're getting their electric power. And the reason being that Idaho Power is currently at maximum capacity. And if someone is coming on board with an additional 500 megawatts, 700 megawatts, whatever, that's going to be about 20% of Idaho Power's capacity.
Idaho Power's capacity right now is 3,700 megawatts a year, or at the present time. And if you have 500, 700 additional megawatts from a user, then you're going to have maybe, that's roughly 20%, maybe 18%, somewhere in there, additional electrical capacity. That has to be generated somewhere. And if you're going to use power from a outside source, like say the Boardman line, that Boardman line is costing $1 billion. Ratepayers are paying for that. And so I think it's something that needs to be, whether it's a condition at least or whatever, it needs to be figured out exactly where you're getting all your electricity for a data center. And is that a reasonable thing to have? Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Gannon.
Michael Smith.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, CUNA citizens. I, first of all, would like to say that I pretty much agree with every single thing that every person in here has said tonight. And would also love to see the Yamamoto family be able to retire and get as much money as they possibly could for this piece of ground. But I'm here to testify as part of the Comprehensive Plan Committee that some of you folks gathered and put together in this very room a few years ago. There's a few of you here that were involved in all those meetings. And we were told when we sat down and put all of our heads together to think ahead, look ahead. We want you guys to look at 50 years, 100 years down the road. Because as a valley, we have failed to do that in almost every respect of our development. Just drive down Meridian Road. We continue to build without proper infrastructure. Locust Grove barely can handle the bicycle traffic that's on it now. It would be ludicrous to put something like that kind of a traffic load. But as a comprehensive plan committee, we designated that land to its current use, looking at the future. 50 years from now, 100 years from now, that land could house and employ thousands of people. You're going to give up the resources and the acreage to employ 100 and to create 1,200 out-of-state construction jobs. So that's my opinion of the whole process. Let's just really think about what we're doing to our valley, our traffic, our farming community, and everything that's involved with it. And I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, questions for Mr. Smith?
He needs to name and address.
Oh, yeah, but you state your name and your address.
Michael R. Smith, 3521 East King Road, just off of Locust Grove.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Good catch. Mark Boyer.
All right, good evening, Mark Boyer, 4000 East Cunamore Road. I live just down the road from the Yamamoto farm. I've lived at that residence since 1979, give or take when I went to school. But I have known the Yamamoto family my entire life. I went to school with Christy and Tricia and currently serve on the Lions Club with their brother Bryce. Because of this, I can wholeheartedly say that every family member in that family carries the same selfless, caring, and compassionate qualities that Dwayne and Judy instilled in them. Not only is it in their DNA, it's part of their moral fabric. I have never witnessed anybody in that family do anything to anyone that served them over that person. It's because of this that I'm in favor of this project. I know they considered carefully how this development would impact their neighbors, and quite honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they gave us the same considerations as themselves. I'm not going to stand up here and pretend I know everything about how this project will affect the power grid, the water, or the tax base. I'll leave that up to Diode and the city of CUNA to work out. But I do know that the Yamamoto family has done their homework and still feels this is the best use for that property, and I trust that. Matter of fact, I am thankful they chose to go down this path. While this farm has consistently been meticulously maintained over the years, and yielded some of the best crops in the Kuna area, it's just not feasible for it to remain agricultural and expect them to forfeit the difference in value from farm ground to industrial. No one has criticized the past farmers who sold out to developers, and so we certainly can't blame the Yamamotos for harvesting this last crop that to them represents a lifetime of work. I mean, what would you do if you owned that farm and it was time to let it go? For me personally, I would rather have one neighbor to the south of me rather than hundreds, if not thousands of homes. I've also had some good conversation with the Diode management team, and they assure me that this project will fit into the surroundings as best it can and will also be meticulously maintained. When we first moved to Kuna in 1979, we raised pigs for about 15 years. While I feel we did a great job of keeping the farm clean, I'm sure our neighbors would have wished my dad had chosen a different profession when the wind blew in their direction. I want to remind everyone that this project will be nothing like living next to a pig farm. In closing, it's because of these reasons that I would ask the council to allow this to go through. Thank you.
Thank you,
Any
sir.
questions?
Thanks, Mark. Any questions for Mark? No. Okay, thank you. Not sure of the last name here, maybe Michael Hunter, 459 East Riverside Lane in Eagle.
Michael Huter,
Huter, okay.
Huter, 459 East Rivers Edge Lane in Eagle. I've been the CPA for the Yamamotos for at least 2-3 decades. And my family started farming in Idaho in 1925, so we've been around for a while. This is an opportunity that just doesn't come along that often. And if houses go out there, you're looking at much more traffic, much more burden on services and schools. And none of my family farms anymore because it just isn't feasible. The crop prices are, this was a bad year. Average age of farmers is probably close to 60 now, and no one wants to do the job anymore. So it's inevitable that while it's nice to look out over the fields and see the crops and have that open space, it just isn't going to last. Something will happen with that farm. Their manager is going to retire. Dwayne can no longer farm. It's hard to get labor anymore. Equipment is prohibitively expensive. That farm, we can't even get it rented. I shouldn't say we, but we can't get it rented because there's not pivots on it. It's all hand lines, things that have to be moved by hand. And so while I appreciate people wanting to keep it as ag, I just don't see that it's in the cards. So something will happen to it. And probably won't be another farmer that comes along and can farm it. And if they have to rent it, it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get it to a point where we might be able to get it rented. So, any questions?
Okay.
No, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Hillary Lowe.
Mayor Steer and council members, Hillary Lowe, 2600 South Eagle Road. I'm here actually representing, I'm a trustee on the Kuna School District School Board, and wanted to begin by thanking the applicant for reaching out to the school board proactively and being willing to partner with us. The size and scope of the project wasn't necessarily understood at the time by myself and other school board members. As you know, we're volunteers and doing the best that we can to figure that out at the time. But we are thankful for $500,000. In the world of education, not very many people walk up and ask us to take $500,000. So, but in the time that they communicated with us, our assistant superintendent showed them actually close to $20 million in needs from the school, and we were offered $500,000. And so, so in signing the memorandum of understanding, it's because that's what was offered to us. Since then, we feel that a project of this size and scope will leave residual effects and will affect the school district much more than what we initially understood. So we would like to invite the applicant, along with the city, to come to the table with a little bit more support for the school district in an ongoing manner as they have some of the other critical agencies. We feel that would be really appropriate. The construction will place heavy demands on the schools, roads, and community infrastructure. If you can imagine, 10 years of families coming here to work for a job for 10 plus years for construction, that educates their children from second grade through graduation if they come here for a job. And so those are stresses that will be put on our community. The construction timeline is really significant and will impact families in the affected areas. We request a partnership contribution for the schools commensurate with the size and scope of this project, which we feel $500 is a nice start, but would like to ask for ongoing support in the same way that they are doing for other critical agencies. And we also request limited access to keep construction traffic off of Locust Grove. It's a place where school buses are frequented and do not have good access, and safety is a concern there for traffic to and from schools. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Okay, question?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Did you sneeze or cough?
Cough.
I'll read the address again, 8800 Swan Falls Road. I think it's Cheryl.
Cheryl?
You don't want to testify? Oh, she's neutral or? No.
Okay.
Was she in?
Oh, didn't sign up, didn't check the box, so I wasn't sure. Okay.
Is she in neutral opposition or?
That was opposition.
Thank you.
Are you tallying?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you a tally at the end, because if they don't want to testify, I'm not reading their names. All right. Mike Lane.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Mike Lane, 3015 East Meadowview Road here in Kuna, Idaho. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council member. I won't repeat, I am for this project for certain. I won't repeat all the nice things they said about the Yamamoto family or the positive comments, and I certainly appreciate those that dissent on this concept. I'm going to just make a couple comments about what I've seen in my career. Spent nearly 30 years in the high technology industry. That includes Micron, Aptina, and ON Semiconductor, formerly known as Motorola. I did merger, acquisition, and divestiture work. I went to cities in both the multiple states in the United States as well as countries, and I saw cities that parked, got nervous about growth, and then started shrinking. I just don't honestly believe there's anything that's flat. And when you're flat, you're really shrinking. You're losing tax base. You're not able to fund things. You're not able to grow. And frankly, there comes a little bit of compliment to both the planning committee and yourselves. CUNA's doing really well, you guys. I mean, I see the parks. I said this at the planning meeting. I see the infrastructure. I see the events. It's great. It's nice that you guys are managing the growth. So I believe that growth is inevitable here in CUNA, and I think growth is a good thing. I think this is a project that adds value. I see a lot of houses. I got one to the east and one to the west of me going in. I'm okay with it, honestly. I see that as growth and helps the city of CUNA continue to growth. But when I look out here south of CUNA, this is even better. It's not more houses. It's industrial. And I'll leave with my final point. Having experience in high tech, bringing high tech to CUNA adds long-term value. I understand short-term, there's going to be a lot of disruption. The roads, I think they can figure that out. The power, they can figure that out. Maybe the buffer zone, I'm not sure about that. But truthfully, bringing high tech will breed more high tech. It brings tax base, it brings high skilled workers, and it just parlays on itself. So with that, I ask the council to approve this. Any questions?
Okay, questions?
I do.
Yes.
With working in the tech industry, about how long, in your opinion, would those 100 jobs go to something that's automated?
Oh, the data centers, I think it's already very automated. So for example, Micron Technology would build the type of memory that would go in a data center. This is not gonna be operators and stuff. This is gonna be maintenance. This is gonna be keeping the cores, keeping the cooling systems going. It's gonna be fairly stable.
Thank you.
Can I add one more comment? Council
sure,
members?
certainly,
Yeah,
please.
I did go through that phase with Micron where Micron's majority workforce was operators and everything got automated. I believe, and not to put words in their mouth, that this is already very automated. So these would be stable. Thank you.
I appreciate the input.
Okay, thank you. Gil, 6484 Misty Glen Way.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and CUNA staff members. My name is Gil Aruxad, 6484 South Misty Glen for the record. I'm a representative with the Western States Regional Council of Carpenters, and I'm here to speak on behalf of our local 635 members that reside in CUNA, as well as the members that reside in the Treasure Valley. We have over 1,000 carpenters I'm speaking on behalf of. I don't have the numbers as far as the CUNA residents, but I'm here to speak in favor of rezoning, and here's why. Just for context, in the Western States Regional Council of Carpenters, we represent over 94,000 highly skilled and trained carpenters. A lot of those carpenters which are already working on, I heard, Meta, and for clarification, I can speak on behalf of the carpenters. I can't speak on behalf of the other crafts. But what we do when we partner with our contractors that are on these large projects is we partner to build local workforce. So we're looking at tripling and quadrupling our apprenticeship, which I know CUNA High School, Swan Falls has a very good CTE program. We're looking at taking those opportunities to get these kids at a starting wage around $27 an hour. Our master labor agreement's almost $22 an hour. Also, another $15 in full family medical and pensions, which create great opportunities that these members are out there working and building community wealth. Our members aren't out there relying on government subsistence. They're getting it's partnerships with the contractors to build highly trained and skilled workforce. So when they go to the doctors, that we have a zero deductible plan. So these are really great careers, and we're looking at capitalizing on projects like Meta and this project as well. We've done a great job with Micron. There's these large projects, and we're looking at these projects to capitalize and grow the local workforce so that we can retain them and they don't go to other states. Historically speaking, within our council, I could speak on, other states have generally had higher wages and benefits, and we've taken this opportunity to, in our collective bargaining agreements, to increase those so we can attract local workforce, because historically a lot of our own members have gone over an hour west to go to Oregon to work for double the pay. So I think these opportunities present very good careers for the local workforce. I thank you for letting me speak, and I stand for any questions.
Okay, question?
I have a question.
Yes.
After these jobs that come in, once these buildings are complete and they don't need the workforce, do you relocate them? Do you move them? What happens if we have these two facilities that are built in Micron, but when they're done, what would you do with your workers?
So I can't speak on behalf of all the workers. What I would say is we have opportunities that we create within local, that we're talking to developers and trying to get more opportunities for workers. What I can say is that in our 12 states, we have full mobility. We have one pension trust and health and welfare trust in 12 states where it's a fluid mobility. So there's opportunities for our members to work anywhere in these 12 states, and their pension and their health health and welfare stay the same. So I would say that we are the largest council within the United States, within the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America, and we operate, I say we have a trust that operates on steroids. It's very efficient. Like I said, our pension is to give you an example, some of the members that are currently working out at Meta could potentially be working out there, through phase 2 and other phases, 5 years. A lot of apprentices that are out there could start at 18, and if by the time that project's finished, could have a $1,000 pension credit just in those 5 years. That's what our pension is. That is a good way to recruit local workforce. So to answer that question is every member, we don't direct members where they would like to go. We just create those opportunities, and we have plenty of those opportunities within the 12 states.
Well, and if I may, my concern was that if we don't continue to build these huge projects, then you have a workforce that comes in for, 5-6 years, but then there's no workforce needed. So they may come to, spend money in the economy here, but after that time, then they're not needed. So I was just curious if you had other states lined up for them, things like that. So I appreciate your input. You answered my question.
Yeah, and we do. And like I said, I'm not an economist, but we do, in the foreseeable future, I think everyone here can see what this valley is growing into, and we do foresee a lot of other large projects coming here locally.
Thank you for your time.
Anything further? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Beverly Wolf.
Beverly Wolf, 3420 West Commemoration Avenue, Meridian. So, data centers have a significant impact on the environment due to their enormous energy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, and e-waste disposal. They also affect air quality, water resources, land use, biodiversity, and create microclimates. To improve sustainability, data centers should transition to renewable energy, efficient technology, and recyclable materials. According to Google, October 2024, data centers undeniably carry a substantial environmental footprint. A recent report from Google shows that despite investments, the renewable clean energy total greenhouse data center CO2 emissions continue to rise exponentially from data centers. And guess what? They're going to demand more energy and more cooling with AI. I understand all the sides of this. I get that farmers have been pigeonholed out, thank you developers, because cost of land, thanks to a lot of developers, has skyrocketed, and therefore land values have gone up. So what you should do is consider giving the farmers a break on their taxes. Why don't you trade them land or use of their land or donation of their product to the local community? For example, CUNA Food Bank in August 2024 reported that in July 2022, we did 81 food orders a month and served 75 households. In 2023, in July, they did 108 food orders serving 97 families. In July 2024, it was 307 food orders serving 178 households. And of those 178 households, 46 of them were contacting the food bank for the first time. So all your growth has got a lot of good points, but all your growth has added a lot of expense on the existing taxpayers. And oh, by the way, some of them can't afford to eat. So how are you going to feed them? Do you know that 320 acres is we have 320 acres that we're talking about, 600 something altogether, okay? You don't know what to do with the other half? Well, how about this? Do you know that to feed 50,000 people, which I'm not quite sure how close are we to that number in this city? To feed 50,000 people, you need approximately 60,000 square miles of farmland. 60,000 square miles of farmland is 38,400,000 acres. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wolf.
Dr. Elizabeth Sweringer.
I'm Elizabeth Swearingen, and I live at 2825 South Locust Grove, which puts me yards from the intersection of Cunamora and Locust Grove. We have a small farm there, and I have retired as an anthropologist from Boise State University. Very, very aware of the importance of community and the strength that you need to have in order to have a rural community. I am also very familiar with the traffic patterns on Locust Grove. It's a small, narrow road that crosses over a railroad, and the train comes every 2 hours. The negotiation of Locust Grove at the end of Cunamora with the canal ends up with cars in the canal and cars in our irrigation ditch on our side of the road. When there is a train, just the amount of residential will back up on Locust Grove. But when you have the amount of industrial vehicles that are going to be bringing cement and gravel down that road, with a projected build rate of 10 years, you're talking about destroying, obliterating those of us who live on Locust Grove, any kind of quality of life. I'm not necessarily opposed to the project itself. I can see the benefits. I do see this as somewhat of a David and Goliath fight. I understand that money speaks, and I understand that as individual residents, the amount of cultural power we have is very low. But I also understand that it's worth the fight in order to take a closer look at traffic. Even just the farm, which is on Eagle, when it has a traffic diversion problem, the big Oktoberfest farmland, yeah, it absolutely, completely clogs Locust Grove. And I just don't think that the dynamics of the canal, the turns, the sharp, and the narrow road can handle. And then King is impossible to get on now because there's been so much traffic that's been diverted there. And then you go around a curve, a blind curve, by the way, at, onto Strobel. And I do not believe that the way that the traffic patterns are proposed will sustain this. It was my understanding initially that it would be serviced with Cloverdale. And Cloverdale has obviously become a thoroughfare. And so unless the concerns of the traffic on Locust Grove are met, I'm opposed to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Devin Vaughn, did you wish to testify? Devin Vaughn? Must have bored him to death. James Hodges.
James Ed Hodges, 1805 Strobel Road, Kuna, Idaho. Mayor, council members, thank you for addressing this. Judy came and proposed this to our family because we do live very close to the project. And I was all in favor of the project because she told me that entrance would be off of Cloverdale Road. And now, lo and behold, it's going to come down South Locust Grove Road. It's already been stated, it's a narrow road. It's not a two-lane road. If you meet a truck on that road, you have to really get over on the side. There's also railroad tracks, and the trains come very often, I know, living on the corner of Strobel Road and King Road. I hear those trains come by multiple times every day. So I'm in favor of the project, but only if traffic can come off of Cloverdale Road and leave South Locust Grove Road as a community road, which it is. I would like to say that I'm very familiar with this land. When I graduated high school, I was one of the first ones that started to disc this land out of sagebrush. I worked for Dwayne, and so I've been good friends of the Yamamotos. They are good, honest people. But I don't want to ruin our lifestyle because I own the land from the canal to the railroad tracks on both sides of the road. And coming down that road as a narrow road with farm equipment is very dangerous, and I sure don't want that. That's all I've got to say. If there's any questions.
Okay, questions for Mr. Hodges?
No, sir, thank you, Mr. Hodges.
Thank you. Doug? Clarification. Has the access for construction been finalized yet? Or they're still working with ACHD, I understand.
Yeah, for the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning. So the permanent data center TIS has been accepted by Ada County Highway District, but they're still working through the construction TIS with Ada County Highway District. And I just want to point out that the plan within the packet is conceptual. It does show a driveway off Barker and a driveway off Locust Grove, but that's not ultimately going to be the finalized design. I can let the applicant speak to that later on. All of that will have to come back forward in a design review application if something is approved this evening.
All right, it's just come up a lot, so I wanted to kind of clarify if possible. So, thank you. Where was I? Michael Van Vieten?
Yeah. Michael Van Vechten, 1360 North Atherton. Mayor, council members, thank you for listening. Forgive me, I only found out about this meeting about an hour ago, so I took notes as I was hearing the presentation. So I'm just kind of rapid fire some questions that I had. So for looking at other cities that have gone into growth and development, because I've lived in multiple states in my life, and I've seen a lot of things, including Overland Park, Kansas, as a matter of fact. I've watched the expansion happen there. I moved there when I was 18. I'm 39 now. My children grew up in Olathe, Kansas, which is a stone's throw from there. Those cities are very different than they were, and that has changed drastically as large businesses like Verizon and companies like this have moved in and taken over. It is a very different landscape to be in. So one of the things I wonder about is, forgive me, the term is slipping my mind, but the heat retention of larger structures like this, as we expand out, we create more concrete, more blacktop, more asphalt, the region becomes hotter and hotter. You know, many of the regions that I've lived in have continued to get hotter. Let me get back on topic. The wastewater. What is being done, what is in the contract for the future if there's ever a leak or a leach back into that groundwater that is going into other agriculture in the area? What is in place where if there is a leak, if there is a leach back into the system where the company is going to be financially responsible for repairing and fixing those issues? Forgive me if that's already been answered by the contracts that are already there. Now, my other question for the school district money, why is it only to athletics and tech? Why is the band not included? Why is theater not included? Why is it only athletics and tech and not all of the departments of the school? I believe all of the children should be impacted positively of this, not just the football team and the computer lab. Not that those are not important. Now, as far as the taxation goes, forgive me, Councilman Bruce, your point with the $400 million cap, I find that to be a very big point of concern. You know, when they can generate as much money as they're going to off of that property and contribute relatively so little back to the place where that facility is in actual existence, I have a very difficult time with that. I think I'll use the rest of my time to discuss that. When the gentleman discussed earlier the numbers on that 0.06%, should we not be discussing the fact that the $400 million cap on a facility that's worth billions and billions and billions of dollars, only having to pay on a $400 million value? Why is that good for us as CUNA? Why is that good for us? Why is that remotely fair? And forgive me for going over my time. I think I've made enough of my points. Thank you very much for your time and the questions.
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Ray Nebeker.
Ray Nebeker, 3204 South Locust Grove. I'm kind of the person that's been on the ground for 55 years. And I live right next to it. I have no intention of moving ever. And I see this so much better of homes than anything else. I have taken 50% of this ground out of sagebrush or helped with it. And we talk about water. Water, that farm has probably been farmed more intense than any farm anywhere around here with higher water use. And the wells have not gone down. I was checking well logs back from '62, and the water table is still very stable. 1 year it'll be up 5 foot, 1 year it'll be down 5 foot. But last fall, it was right at the same level as what it was in '62. So water is not going to be an issue. And if you move this to out farther on Cunamora Road or wherever, where there is no water right, and they will get one. The Water Resource Board will let them drill wells. We've got new ag wells in the last 10 years out for CS, a whole bunch of them. Where this has been farmed since '63, the water's not an issue. For houses, I hate to see houses right next to where I live. And I know sooner or later it will be developed. There's over 1,000 acres of farm ground that I've been involved in farming in my 55 years of farming that is now homes. And that's all within a 5-mile circle of CUNA. It's hard to believe that, but that's what it is. And then you talk about maybe making this rural residential. Well, I have a harder time farming next to rural residential where it's 5 acres or 10-acre places than I do a subdivision. A subdivision knows that this line is theirs. Rural residential, they let their dogs loose. Yeah, I had 3 dogs in with the cows this morning. Yeah, and my dog runs loose too. So, I can't gripe, but there is problems. And all the neighbors, they think your farm roads and everything are their private ATV roadways or horse trails or whatever. So to me, this is the best option that's going to happen. It will be developed at some date. All of this farm ground out there will. Even the neighbors that are farming very intense right now, one day we will see theirs become homes or something. And then I see this as a very big plus to the schools because maybe they didn't get big money here up front, but the tax base that's going to come off of this in later times is going to be very beneficial because there will not be students. Yeah, if the employees live here, but
Excuse
their
me, sir.
house will pay for it.
Sir, you've reached your time. If you can finish up your comments, thank you.
Yeah, you can go ahead and finish.
No, that's
That's it?
that's enough.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nebaker. Appreciate you. Lane Thornton.
Lane Thornton, 3224 Swan Falls Road. Mayor and City Council, thanks for listening. There's some points I'd like to make. The applicants during the engagement period at the neighborhood meeting, they said that the entrance was going to come off of Cloverdale. And so I think that's some of why some of the people didn't come to the planning and zoning hearing, because they were satisfied it wasn't going to affect them. But since then, they came to the planning and zoning meeting and said that the entrance would be off of both. And so I think what happened is the words got out, and those people are here to support them. Also, too, when you look at the list of the people who are in favor and in opposition, you know, I think it's worth noting the addresses of where they live. You know, the ones that are in favor, you know, they are here because they're supporting the Yamamotos or maybe some other reason, but they're not here because they're actually don't live anywhere near where the site is going to be, and they're really not going to be affected, you know, by what goes on. So. There was another question. My neighbors to the west of me, they've had their property for sale for several years, and each time they get close to somebody going to buy it, the city tells them that they have to fund an overpass. And this is the Vanderstel property, and that's happened twice. And I guess my question is, why is this property not going to fit under that same guideline? Because when I look at the Ada County Highway District planning map, it shows the overpass coming down Keener Meridian Road and then coming across there. And so Swan Falls Road is a mile from Keener Meridian Road, and Locust Grove is a mile to the east on Keener Meridian Road. I guess what's the difference why this one here wouldn't have to fund an overpass as well? I spoke to a representative from Idaho Power, and he said anytime we increase the power needs in the area, that power has to come from an outside source, or it comes from a higher cost, like solar panels or windmills, or it comes from out of state. And when you increase the load or the demand on the power, you know, the rates, every year they apply for higher rates. And those rates affect all of us, whether you're in a home or like us, we have a substantial amount of our money that goes to pumping water to farm. Mayor, can I have 2 more minutes? You gave them 2 more minutes. So I think fair is fair, so.
Yeah, you can go ahead if you need.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to make another point. When they talk about property tax, you wonder how many of these other costs in power will be offset by the extra in property tax that is generated. And also, too, when these businesses come into an area, they're also given things. They're, you know, how long do they have before they actually start paying property tax? And then also, too, they are given a state relief on the sales tax. They don't have to pay sales tax on all the materials that they use to build the building. Likewise, that comes back to all of us in higher taxes and higher fees, because, you know, the state has to have so much money, it has to come from somewhere. I think that's all I have, so thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Questions for Lane?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
TJ Lawrence.
Mr. Mayor, council members, TJ Lawrence, 3065 West Granny Smith Court, CUNA. I'm also employed by the CUNA Rural Fire District, 150 West Boise Street, CUNA. As Mr. Clark stated in his opening, we've had many negotiations because there are serious concerns the fire district had with impact on serviceability to this development. With that said, both sides have agreed to terms of an MOU, which the district has signed, but as Mr. Clark stated, because of timing, they haven't had a chance to sign that, but we expect that they will. The purpose of the MOU is to mitigate the effects development would have on the district. Because of what has been, excuse me, because of what has been agreed to in the MOU, we believe we'll be able to service this project, meaning firefighting requirements are satisfied with contribution in connection with entitlements. I know that's short and sweet, but that's the statement from the fire district. And I stand for any questions you might have.
Okay. Questions for me? Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Mhm.
Chief.
Sherry Agnew, did you wish to testify? Okay. You say no?
She left.
Oh, yes, there she is, okay.
She went home. Mr. Mayor, she left.
Oh, okay. Claudette? Klinchuk? I'm trying to keep track. And count at the same time.
Can I lower this? Hello, my name is Claudette Clinchu, and I live at 3200 South Locust Grove Road, right next to this project. I'm not against the project per se, but I had previously thought that the entrance was going to come off of Cloverdale Road. And now I understand it's going to be at South Locust Grove Road, and I just don't think that road is conducive to the traffic, to the construction trucks that'll be coming by. And also, we have a railroad track, like it was also stated before, and that railroad track is awful. It is very rough going over that railroad tracks. I'm just concerned about property tax and also to the value of our homes if it's going to go down with this project. I'm not against it. I feel for the Yamamotos. I know that it's their property and they can do, what they want to do with their property. They own it. But I just think that we should stop and consider the impact it will have on our neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sid Anderson.
Mayor Steer, Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm just curious if it's possible, and I'm a little surprised that we kept going. If the people that are out here, unless they're directly in front of the opening, they can't hear anything, and that's why most of them have left, because they've been standing out there for a long time, not able to hear. And it seems to me it might be appropriate that if we allow those that want to testify tonight and don't want to come back, and maybe we table this and give opportunity to find a facility that would accommodate everybody. I don't know if that's possible, but I just wanted to throw that out as a suggestion, because I know a lot of people have left because they are frustrated. And most of us that have commented tonight only learned about this over the weekend as well. And so I think tabling would also be beneficial to us as well. Not that we really want to rally more support, but I think we probably can. With that, I can wait and see if you guys want to discuss that, or if you want me to continue, I'll continue.
No, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, I do have a letter to submit in opposition. I'll hand this to you, I guess, when we're done. My wife has another letter. It's got 6 people signed it. She will read it. I want to discuss a few other things. She's not signed up to speak, but if you could add her, Laura Anderson, so that she can read that. 2 reasons. One, I think it's got some points that we want to make sure we get covered.
She signed up not to testify?
She
You
signed
want
up in
to change that?
opposition, but she didn't check the testify box, so if you will add her so she can read the letter. I just want to make sure we get this letter submitted so that the applicant doesn't need to blow his horn about only having letters in support. So just a couple of things I do want to cover. First of all, the Yamamotos have been neighbors of my family for nearly 60 years. They've been here a little bit longer than us, and they are great people, and I do want to support them as much as I can. And to my neighbors and friends' disbelief, I'm going to make a statement that I actually love this project. I think it's an amazing opportunity for the community, and I love to see something like this being considered. But I am signed up in opposition, and that's not an April Fool's joke, just like this application or meeting or not. I do oppose it, and the reason I oppose it is because I think that there needs to be significant improvements, and I mean really significant improvements for this to really be able to work. And I did call ACHD yesterday and talked to them a little bit about this application. They said they've done the TIS, which is the Traffic Impact Study, for those that don't know. They are under review, and they haven't yet submitted their comments. But the problem with the way this is working is they don't typically submit conditions of approval with just a rezone and map amendment. Those are usually done with the applications. That's not going to happen with this project. And so we're kind of fighting a little thing of like, how do we make sure the community really gets what they need? And I know they talked to a lot of the local jurisdictions and asked them what they needed, but I don't know that we're really getting that through this process. What we need is infrastructure. And as Lane had pointed out, most major developments are told they have to fund an overpass. I would actually add to that, and they need to fund a revision or amendment to that drawing that would extend that overpass and Highway 69 all the way to Barker Road, and then they can connect to it, and it's can have direct north-south access, and then actually fund that, as well as assist with CUNA City, Ada County, and Compass with identifying and even getting the I-84 Southern Bypass started. And that's what I would suggest.
Can you state your name and address for the record,
Yes,
please?
Sid Anderson, 2500 East Rock Falls Lane.
Thank you, Sid.
And I am very familiar with the development agreement with on-site, the Osprey Ridge. People talk about the 2,000 homes that could go in instead of this. We all know that's just a scare tactic. If they came in for 2,000 homes, they'd have to redo a lot of things, including preliminary plats and all that stuff, which would require a lot of public process, and ACHD would be able to require those things that we need to require. I just want to figure out how we do this. Maybe we table this and figure it out before we get too far ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sid.
Thank you, Sid. Laura Anderson.
I'm Laura Anderson, 2500 East Rock Falls Lane in CUNA. Mayor Steer, Council President, and members, thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you today. This is a letter that we wrote up directed to you. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments and be heard regarding this application. For the following reasons, I oppose this project and ask that you deny the proposal until the additional work also suggested in this letter can be completed. The city's comprehensive plan states industrial development is encouraged in the outer areas of city limits to have a lesser impact on the main entryway corridors and placed in locations not adverse to neighboring areas. This site may be in the outer area of city limits, but that is because of the many limiting factors that restrict this area, such as Indian Creek, the railroad tracks, and the New York Canal. These barriers have resulted in roads that are very curvy and dead end. This development is estimated to generate 1,500 plus vehicle trips per day, over 500 trips in the PM peak hours during construction, which will last for 10 years. Locust Grove Road, Cunamora Road, King Road, Eagle Road, Strobel Road, and Cuna Road absolutely cannot accommodate even a fraction of that traffic. And I would implore you, if you have not driven on those roads during busy times, to do so, because you will see very clearly that that is going to be dangerous and will have, as we've talked about, people backed up for miles, even worse than we have now. This project should not be approved because it would cause adverse impacts to neighboring areas, and because of the aforementioned barriers, this development will cause significant adverse impacts to these neighborhoods, both in the immediate area and much further away. If Locust Grove is to be used as a secondary emergency access, then it must be emergency access only, and measures would need to be installed to ensure that it remains emergency access only. From the staff report, we read through a comprehensive plan, map amendment, the applicant aims to create a shovel-ready parcel for technology development with access to city services. Since there is no actual use being proposed, ACHD will not require conditions of approval at this time. ACHD will wait until a use is proposed to require additional infrastructure improvements or impact fees. This project's approval by Cuna City is premature. Doing so allows a developer to make improvements to the site to create a shovel-ready technology park. The city's ability to restrict or obtain additional infrastructure is then greatly diminished because of the costs already put in by the developer and the new zoning designation. I'm going to cut to the end here so I can get to this before my time is up. The location could work for this and other such developments if the following items were possibly resolved. One, the city has put a lot of effort into designing the proposed Highway 69 South Meridian Road Extension Overpass. Unfortunately, the plan is only designed for current traffic needs and not future traffic needs, including development like this and the growth it brings. The first item needing to be done is to fund a new study and development plans to extend the current proposed Highway 69 South Meridian Road Extension Overpass further south to the point that it connects with the proposed I-84 Southern Bypass route and to Barker Road. The second item would be to fund or at least significantly contribute to the installation of the Highway 69 South Meridian Road Extension Overpass and connect it to Barker Road so that traffic from this development and future developments has a direct north-south route that does not go through so many rural communities and small roads. And then work with Cuna City, Ada County, and Compass to identify the I-84 Southern Bypass route and reserve the required right-of-way along this project that would be needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On a pause.
Good evening, Council. My name's Anna Paz, 1980 West Ardell Road, Cuna. I have owned our business for over 26 years in the heart of Cuna. I have been researching this company and that is interested in purchasing Dwayne and Judy's property. And with my research, I am here tonight in support of the rezoning. And from what I have found, they will benefit the whole community. I know a lot of the things that I'll be reading, you've already heard. They will be doing that by bringing more jobs to the community and by providing jobs that will bring more people into the community to support all of our local businesses, including myself, as well as a long-term economic gain due to sustained construction employment over a 10-year program. This company will have an opportunity to make contributions to the city and also participate with what the city of Cuna has to offer. Due to the property being so far out there, they will have low usage of public services and low impact to traffic. I know from experience, being in business for over 26 years here in Kuna, how difficult change is to the community. When we moved over from our old location of 4,000 square feet to our current location of 13,000 square feet, there were a lot of mixed emotions from the community regarding this change. With that said, I feel as long as Diod Ventures follow and do what the council requires them to do for the rezoning, they should be able to do what they feel is appropriate with the property. Each property owner has property rights. So I feel as long as they follow what you guys request, it should be approved. Everyone knows that Dwayne and Judy will, everyone that knows Dwayne and Judy will know they are not just looking out for their best interest, but for the community as well. One request that I just threw in there was, one request that I asked Diod is to reconsider the amount that was offered to the Kuna School District. Part of the Kuna Early Learning Program that has been in Kuna for a long time, and I know the kiddos need a lot of money to get them to where we need them to be. So more money is always better. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason McGregor.
Jason McGregor, 2564 West Kuna Road. Mayor, Councilman, thanks for taking the time to listen to all of us today. Me, myself, I'm a farmer here in Kuna. The majority of my ground that I farm is south of King Road between Lucre and Locust Grove. And over the past couple of years, like a lot of people have said, yes, we have seen significant increase in traffic, especially down King Road. I'm one of the guys that gets the opportunity to move some of that big equipment around. And I'm telling you, it can be dicey at times. And I have the same concern that we've heard a lot tonight. Is Locust Grove, it is a small road. It's kind of nice for us when we're moving some equipment because there's not a lot of traffic on it right now, and you can skate around some blind hills. One in particular is between Locust Grove and Eagle. There's a hill there that's even with a pilot car, it can be pretty dicey because a lot of people they just they'll blow by your pilot car, and it's too bad, but it is what it is. And I just think we need to take a pause. I hope ACHD will kind of hear what has been said today by a lot of us, and maybe think about this. And this access that's been talked about going down Locust Grove, in just my opinion, it's not that great of an idea. There's something else that hasn't been talked about. The run-up to going over those railroad tracks, yeah, it's fine if you're in regular semi. But you got to have some big stones if you're going to take a low boy over that. And that might be kind of rough. But, and yeah, that's my concern, is the traffic. I know it's not going to be perfect, but how can we mitigate this a little bit? Some of this traffic on King Road, because a lot of us farmers, myself, Thornton's, a lot of others, Nebuchadnezzar, we try to stay off of the main roads, and King, that's our go-between, that's our artery. And unfortunately, the more cars there are, it's rough, and ultimately, we don't want to get anybody hurt. Yep, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Douglas Croft.
Mayor,
Mayor, City Council, thank you for hearing us. What I have to say is pretty much already been
Sir,
worn slick.
can you state your name and address, please? Thank you.
Douglas Croft, 3232 Lava Lane. I'm probably as close a neighbor as what this facility has. I'm right across the street from Nebekers and down a little ways. I originally put an opposition to this based on just exactly what has been talked about in the last 6 or 10 testimonies. Originally, when we were at the meetings for the neighborhood, the access was proposed as to go down just Cloverdale, but to add South Locust Grove, to me, it's almost like as a corporation, you give an inch, you take a mile. That was kind of slipped in, and that was the only reason I put an opposition later on, because again, South Locust Grove is not a main thoroughfare. I don't even know if ACHD can look at the bridge that goes over the canal, if it'll even handle the weight restrictions for large traffic and construction equipment going across that. And if they said, well, okay, we'll rebuild the bridge, well, how's that going to affect everybody that lives south of the bridge right now? We're not going to be able to even get into town until that bridge is rebuilt. That is a concern. And so if South Locust Grove is added to this proposal, then I'm in opposition. If not, I don't have a problem with the project previous. Any questions?
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ted Vondershoff.
Hello, Ted Vanderscoff, 3633 West Screen Lane, CUNA. I'm a dairy farmer in the area, and also, when I'm not farming, I also serve on a couple boards, Idaho Dairy Association, Dairy Gold, and Brand Board for the state of Idaho. I'm not really representing those guys today, but because of those other jobs I have, I do get to have a lot of travels and business meetings and whatnot. In the last month or so, I've had a meeting with Idaho Power and also Ada County Development Services, talking about actually data centers, ironically. I didn't find out about this until yesterday. So, you know, it's interesting to me that we now have a second data center that we're talking about. We have Meta out there, and now this one. And my question is, why are they coming here? It seems to me, after talking to Idaho Power and Ada County Development Services, we're not charging them enough. We're just simply not charging them enough. They're coming here because we have the cheapest power in the United States, relatively, and we have no tax cost to them. We've mitigated all the tax costs. The state, we actually have laws, in fact, to exempt them. They only have 400 million, up to 400 million of property tax base that they have to pay on, to my understanding. And so why wouldn't they come here? It's like free to them. I think, you know, ultimately, when you look at the community of CUNA and what it is and what it's becoming, I agree that growth is inevitable. It's going to happen. But, you know, and I'm not advocating for a subdivision on Yamamoto's property. But, you know, when you look at what you're building, the gentleman, the applicant wouldn't talk about how many billions of dollars they're going to spend to build this. You know, they don't want to disclose that number, because then we could figure out how much tax they should be paying. Also, you know, when you talk about power usage, they didn't want to disclose how much power they're going to use. You know, because ultimately, they're going to use a lot of power. And so as a farmer, that's going to affect me, and that's going to affect every person in this room. You know, they're going to use a whole bunch of power. They're probably going to work a deal to get it a little cheaper. In the meantime, there's not going to be enough power, so the rest of us are going to have to pay more. So that's where my issues are. I have no issues with Yamamoto's trying to sell their property. I farm next to them myself for 25 years. I think they're great neighbors. They've been great for this community. I think they have a right to sell their property. But property rights end at the zoning. We're talking about new zoning now. That's why we all get to come here and have a word in on this. And so, you know, looking forward, I think even a 2,000 home subdivision, which I wouldn't want, would have more tax base and more value to the community of CUNA. Once this building and this this thing comes into effect, I actually think you end up with less jobs than you would have had in the net effect. I think that, you know, the farmers leave and the auto store, the hardware stores, all those aren't needed anymore. All the money for this business is actually going to go out of state, and we're not going to have the tax base to benefit from it. So that's all I got.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, sir. Dustin Ferdinand.
Dustin Ferdinand, 5197 South Happy Valley Road, Kuna, Idaho. Mayor and members, thank you for your time. I think all of us of the community, I mean, obviously want the best for Yamamoto's. They're been in this community for so long, such great people. The problem is, it's just data collection center, really. So, I mean, one, we gotta ask, okay, are we getting the cart in front of the horse? So, some of my thunder was kind of stolen by some other speaks, but I'm gonna try and do the best I can on some other issues. But, so, as far as pushing the power, Idaho Power is at a stress right now for power. And we're gonna put in another source that's gonna require even more for it. And so that's gonna basically outsource us to out of state to get more power in. And the ones that are gonna pay for it are gonna be us consumers. Because right now, Meta and the data collection centers, they pay a discount rate for power. They pay cheaper than what us consumers do. And we're gonna put another data collection center in that's gonna require more power. We're gonna end up having to split the bill later down the road. Getting the cart in front of the horse, you know, we still haven't seen the full effects of what this first one is doing to us. You know, they've promised the good things, they've done some good things to the community. Just as like there's promises, you know, of this one coming, but it's over a 20-year term. You know, we think, okay, well, this is a development company. They have the option to sell. They can sell it to somebody else. The agreements that have been talked about beforehand, those can be null and void. Yeah, so cart before the horse. You know, maybe we need to get the infrastructure in, and it sounds like tonight there's obviously a lot of concern about traffic in that area. So maybe we think about the infrastructure of the traffic as well. Or, you know, maybe we require these developments to bring their own power. But we also know what that could involve. That could be more of this so-called green solar energy that we haven't been around a lot, and the evidence we can see is really not that healthy, and it's really not a green aspect to us. Is this other data collection center, is that gonna bring more of this to the area? I'm trying to go on and on, but I'm trying to keep it short, keep you guys, because I'm sure everybody wants to go home, get out of here. I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Ty, 304 East Ivy Glade, you didn't sign up whether you wanted to or not. Okay.
So full disclosure.
If you would just state your name and
Yeah,
address.
my name is Ty Thomas, 304 East Ivy Glade. I'm working out of Meta. You know, there's a lot of talk about, you know, all these people coming from out of state to work, right? I grew up here, right? I grew up in Nampa, live in Kuna. You know, there's a lot of people here who are finally making a decent wage because these companies pay. You know, housing prices going up, wages are not the same, right? So this is a good opportunity. There's a lot of people who have been working out of state that are from here who are able to come home, see their families. You know, so to say that, you know, that we're just throwing money to other states is kind of ridiculous because most of the guys out there, I think, are from here. You know, and what's going to happen to the next generation? We train all these people. Well, we've got a lot of work in the valley coming up. And as we bring more people home, we got more jobs becoming available. There's more businesses that will arise from it, right? So that's kind of what I got to say. Any questions?
No, I appreciate it.
Question?
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that very much. I have Liberty Ranch. They didn't sign yes or no on testifying.
They're shaking their head no.
Okay. Same with Suzanne Peterson? No, you didn't. But I can do that.
She's sitting down behind those people.
Thank you.
Susan Peterson, 1320. Oh God, what's my, Sweet Pearl. Thank you. It's been a long night. Just a couple of things. I had a lot to say until all of this. One, taxes, big deal on this. If they're not paying taxes, somebody's gonna pay them, that's usually us. The other thing is power. And I was looking at, I talked to Savion, who was the developer on the solar farm that got turned down out by Power Butte. And I asked him, I said, well, now that that one got turned down, what? He says, well, he's looking to put in two. And because of this is in data plants, centers, if you look at the statistics, they all have solar power. Your air conditioning. They all have solar farms attached to them because of the power drain. And I get the idea of a data center in concept is great. And they do have a right to sell their farm and retire and all of that. But when this goes in, same way with Meta, you're going to have solar farms come out, and they're going to sit, if the property sits next to county's going to take it. But that's my only concern. I don't want solar power, solar farms. They're ugly. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. John Wind? I probably missed that one too.
Yeah.
1556 Paul.
Yeah, they, no.
What?
He left.
Oh, he left, okay. All right, that is all I had signed up. Is there anybody else who wishes to testify?
Cindy Geeson.
Couple.
Let me flip this over so I can get a new one. Well, it's not a new one, but there's room on it.
You come on up and.
Oh, yeah, a couple more. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, let me go ahead and, can I get somebody to take the clipboard around and we'll just kind of keep going here?
Nate, will you grab the clipboard and then we can let it.
We should charge cookies for latecomers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can take the clipboard to them.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Cindy Geeson, go ahead, please.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and council members. Cindy Geeson, 1363 South Ash Avenue. I missed you. Cuna. I'm opposed to this, and mostly because this isn't just a data center that's going to affect our community. It's going to be all the infrastructure that needs to come. I live right on West King Road, and I see all the traffic coming. Maybe it's from the prisons, but I've never seen it like this until Meta was out there, okay? That's a temporary situation out there, and like it's been discussed, we need people that can live here and have a job, any kind of job, not just a construction job. And data centers don't bring them. Most of the people that work for them are security. I ask you to look at what happened to you with Meta, okay? They made all sorts of promises. They snuck in here. We weren't informed. I learned about this today, and I was hoping it was an April Fool's joke. Okay? You have an industrial area. You promised there was going to be jobs following up with that, that would bring us jobs, businesses that would bring us jobs. Now, if you brought Micron Corporation over here and they put in a fab, that would bring us jobs. And maybe we could live with the power grid that's going to have to be placed through our communities, the roads that'll be shut down. Presently, Meta came in here, made promises for 3 data centers. You have one. Meta's done business with this company that you're dealing, that's asking now. They have done business with them, so possibly they could come out and use the extra land that Meta has that says they're going to put a data center and put it out there. Okay, you put aside a safe place for our industrial area, and we did a whole bunch of planning, and we all looked at your great plan that said, we're giving you this much more agricultural area. And we were thrilled because you're going to preserve it, because we have a seed industry out here that's thriving. We have the U.S. that needs to be less dependent on other countries. So I'm asking you to look at long-term impacts of these solar panels, of fiber optics being dug up into our road for another, year. Maybe you decide you won't go to Locust Grove. Well, the next maybe street is Swan Falls, okay? And you can go and look at all the infrastructure that had to come in with Meta. You can look at that and see where's that going. And then ask, how are you going to store that energy that these companies need? Well, right now their solution is to put thousands of lithium batteries on those Idaho Power locations. Okay, we aren't prepared for that. And there's such better technology in the future. Nuclear energy. Let's promote somebody who might bring that. It'll be safe. But please focus on our community, build a community center. Meta consumed this whole department's time for years, made promises, didn't keep them. Take a lesson from that, and please look at communities like ours that they have already been at and destroyed in Oregon and Arizona, data centers in general. So please hold off.
Thank you. Thank you. Who's the next name on the list?
That's me. I'll be brief. Jim Lowe, 2600 South Eagle Road. And appreciate you, Mayor and councilors, for allowing the time for this to go along. Sure. I won't retread the same ground here that we've been over. And I put my name down as neutral because I want to like this project, and I think there's some really good potential. I think that there are some concerns, and I would just urge you to take your time in this process of approval and rezone. For me, I feel like there's concern in the community that we might be opening the door and we're uncertain about what the outcome is going to be. And some people are a little nervous about a bait and switch that might happen once that door is open and what exactly is going to happen there. We need to develop a little bit of a trust in what's going to be the outcome. The access on Locust Grove, we've heard over and over again, and that's just kind of an obvious, logical one there. The natural truck traffic is going to come from Cloverdale, where the gravel pits are, but it's all that construction traffic over 10 years. That's 6 or 7 days a week, bumper to bumper, that we don't want to see going down Locust Grove there through that 10-year construction project. It would be a lot easier to wholeheartedly support this if the developers stepped up a little more heartily for the schools, and I'd like to see that. And then just a few questions that have been raised. The buffer zone seems to be really nice. What happens in 10 or 15 years when the people who are involved right now are no longer here? What have we opened the door to there? Some assurances about longevity of some of those plans, I think would go a long way in developing trust with the community. So I'm not a no, but caution, and that's where I stand. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Ostalasa.
Linda Ostalasa, 1180 South Eagle Road, CUNA. And I agree with most of the positive things that have been said about it. I'd just like to put my comment on the traffic. I live on Eagle Road, and there was a project that went in about a quarter of a mile south of where I live that has brought a tremendous amount of traffic to Eagle Road during certain parts of the year. And I guess I would say that you've learned to accept it. It's changed our lifestyle, but that's part of growth. So I think the traffic, it's going to happen, whether it's on Eagle Road or Locust Grove or Cloverdale, it's coming. Okay, definitely in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Howard, maybe? Oh, I got one right?
You got one right.
All right.
Nailed it.
Hi, I'm Sue Howard. I live at 1578 South Locust Grove Road. And Mayor and City Council members, thanks for listening to all of us. So I live on Locust Grove. I live on the corner of King Road and Locust Grove, near Brian that talked, down the road from Mike that talked, and Ashley across the street, and she'll talk soon. The roads out there, even without the data center, can't handle the traffic. I'm lucky I haven't had a vehicle land in my backyard. King Road is horrendous. And somebody referred to Locust Grove as being a goat trail. It is. There's not even a stripe down the middle of the road. And Cunamora Road is more like a greenbelt path. It's bad out there. And I work in downtown Boise. I don't even go up Meridian Road anymore. I drive out Cunamora, up Pleasant Valley, and on the freeway and back into downtown because I can't handle what's getting in and out of Cuna is rough. And we're blessed with growth, but it's getting pretty hard to deal with. There's just not many main arterials that come in and out. We've got Cunamora, and the large trucks, they're working hard and they're driving fast, and I'm in the middle of them every day going to and from work, and it's dangerous. I'm not opposed to the data center. I'm pretty neutral on it. I just ask you, almost beg you, to consider the traffic. 800, 1,200 workers out there. I don't even know if there's that many that come on King Road in a given day, and it's constant. And it's dangerous. And the corner of Locust Grove and King Road, it's not a big corner. And if you're trying to get in or out, you're going slow, and you got trucks come flying by. I've had motorcycles whiz by in the middle of the night. I swear they're going 100. It's just bad. Anyway, we've talked about that. I also had no idea that this meeting existed. I found out about it 2 days ago. So I don't know how we're supposed to follow those things. And that's it. Any questions?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you very much. Gene Bourne.
Good evening. My name is Gene Bourne. I live at 3554 East Indian Trail Lane here in Cuna. I am a visionary. I can see it coming. I would like to say, before I go too far, these ladies and the gentlemen are right about the traffic. My wife got forced off of King Road into the ditch and estimated about 6 inches off her car. The guy passed going up a hill at Locust Grove, and there's a sign says, "Do not do it." But he did it. And so what I'm asking for, and I want the people that's doing the investing to pay for this. I want to see like a 3-lane road going each way on Locust Grove and on Cloverdale. And if there's going to be another entrance, I would like to see it there. And I think for the train, I think we should do and follow what they did in Colton, California. They built a ramp going up, the train went down, and away it went. And it would be very nice to see it. It will cost someone some money, but it's not going to cost me. So don't come asking, okay? And that's all I have to say, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, did I miss anybody?
No one wants to follow that.
So I did miss? I'm a- Okay. All right, yeah, state your name and
Okay,
address.
Brigham Murray, 3289 East Eagle Lane. I'm going to say some of the stuff that everybody has said. People making money, awesome, good for you, that's great. You know, taxes, money for the city, fire department, police, I mean, that's awesome. The location is a problem. Like it's been said, there's no way anything should go in off of Locust Grove. Even if you extended a Gene, there's no way that thing would get good enough. It would steal from my property as well, which I wouldn't love, but there's no way anything should go off of Locust Grove access. I'm opposed to it in general, but definitely there's no way it should go in off of Locust Grove. That's my biggest concern, the location. Growth is gonna happen, growth is good. We need taxes, we need things, those are all wonderful things, but the location is bad. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Alyssa? That's not one I missed? Is that one I missed?
Oh, she's right. No. Did you not? No. Okay.
Oh.
We won't make it then.
See, and this time I didn't check the box. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Ashley Miller? Ha, got it. That's two.
It's on her.
Hello, Ashley Miller. I'm at 1666 South Locust Grove Road, also on the corner of King and Locust Grove. Obviously, the traffic that's been said. I have 7 children. We run agriculture out there. We have livestock. We have children running around. That hugely needs to be addressed. I'm very concerned for the safety of my children. We homeschool. They're home all the time. They help with chores. We do the things. One thing that hasn't been touched on is transient workers. 800 to 1,200 workers don't just fall out of the sky. You have to recruit, you have to outsource. People are gonna come here to make money, right? They're doing that now. I worked we had a business in the oil field in North Dakota for a while. When we got there, it was beautiful. It looked like Kuna, right? When people come to a place to make money, they don't care about the people, they don't care about the land, they don't care about anything but putting dollars in their bank account, which they're gonna take when they go home after their construction job is finished. Transient workers have zero respect for the land because they don't live here. Like I said, I saw it firsthand. Residential would be better for the community and we would still have the jobs without them using that specific ground. Keep that out there where it's already zoned. I understand it's important to retire to make good money. We all have that goal in life, I think. But why take perfectly good ag ground and turn it into industrial? We have a space for that. No disrespect, but I think that's where it belongs. And I encourage you guys to take your time. Like most of my neighbors, we just found out about this a day or two ago, so I didn't have time to prepare or research, but just going off the cuff here, that's kind of where I'm at. Any questions?
Okay, any questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, was there anybody else? Okay. Rebuttal. The applicant would like to.
Mayor, would we like to allow the applicant some more than 5 minutes for their rebuttal?
Yeah, that's probably,
I'll put 15 on the
needed.
clock for you.
as long as we can answer questions, that'd be good.
Challenge accepted, I guess, question mark? Okay, members of the council, Heath Clark, 251 East Front Street. And I will try to hit as many of these as I can, and then maybe when I get to the end, if council thinks I've missed something, let's make sure I hit it in a question and answer format. So, starting with traffic, I'm gonna jump on this grenade. I think that the misconception here about Locust Grove is probably my fault, because I don't think I described that very well at the last hearing. Locust Grove is only secondary or emergency access. All of our construction traffic is gonna be coming the other direction at our main access. And we are happy to have that as a condition of approval of the project. So I will apologize to the folks whose blood pressure and, excuse me, stress levels I might have raised by that. But that has never been the intent for Locust Grove to be a primary access. It was only intended to be secondary emergency, because I think as Chief Lawrence can attest, we need to have a secondary access for fire code, but, so that's a necessity, but that is not where our traffic is gonna be coming. With regard to the other traffic questions, as Doug mentioned, there's a little bit of a chicken and the egg element that we have to deal with here, given the nature of the application that we have, right? You know, ACHD doesn't do those specific requirements until you come with the specific application. What we were able to do, though, was to work with ACHD and get them to accept, review, and approve traffic impact studies, which isn't necessarily the case on comp plan and rezones. Again, ACHD has reviewed and approved our operations phase traffic impact study. The construction traffic impact study is anticipated to only include temporary modifications to address construction traffic and make sure that the impacts on the local roadways are minimized as much as they can be. That conversation is ongoing, and we have a condition of approval in the staff report that says we have to adhere to whatever ACHD tells us in that ultimate agreement. So we think, yeah, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg. I totally get that, but I think the city is well protected in that we have to address that, and we're conditioned in order to do so. So again, condition of approval to make sure the Locust Grove is secondary or emergency access only, we agree to that wholeheartedly. I ride my bike over that little bridge, and I think that's totally appropriate that we wouldn't be running construction on that thing. Okay, second, buffer, another condition that we would propose. Cheatgrass is not a native grass, let me say that first. But I think that we can provide some additional assurance by having a condition of approval that says when we come for design review, that we would provide you with a landscape plan and a maintenance plan that shows exactly what that buffer is going to look like and how it's going to be maintained. So I hope that addresses that concern as well. I think a couple other items, excuse me. With regard to whether this should be ag and continue to be ag, which I think is probably part of what's kind of behind a lot of the conversation that we've heard tonight. That table has been set for about 20 years with the adoption of the Osprey Ridge DA. Right? The city decided about 20 years ago that this area is not going to be ag forever. It's going to develop into something else. Again, 600 acres, 3 units per acre. That's 1,800 to call it 2,000 units. You hear residential subdivisions all the time. Residential subdivision traffic generation's about 10 per unit. So rather than the traffic that we're talking about, you're talking about 20,000 trips per day. And so we think that this is a significantly less impactful use of the property without the impacts that you think of with other commercial uses. Again, we're talking about 100 employees at the end with a relatively quiet use. Let's see. With regard to the schools, so the schools thing was a bit of a surprise to us. We didn't know that there was a change of opinion until about 4 or 5 hours, well, it's 9 o'clock now, so let's call it 7 hours ago. So we're happy to sit down and talk to the schools some more. Again, we feel like we had an agreement, did an MOU, you know, we're always happy to chat with folks, but again, ultimately, the outcome of that needs to be something that's proportionate to the impact and that both sides can agree upon, but we hear the schools loud and clear, we're happy to have one more conversation with them. Let's see, there's a lot. Is there anything maybe that the commission, or excuse me, the council is top of mind, and maybe I can circle back on my list as we go and make sure I've got anything else?
Clarification question. Yeah. You're talking about your primary access. You're talking about Barker?
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Just wanted to clear that because it's easier to get across the railroad track there.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we agree. Yeah. And again, condition us. Power came up a lot. There's elements of this that we can control. There's elements that we can't. So we have been in conversations with Idaho Power. We have talked to them about likely power generation needs. Like I mentioned, we're in late stage agreements to provide power to the site, to do upgrades around there to accommodate that. So the part of this that we can control is before we're going to make a massive investment in this site, we need to know that it's going to have the power to be able to serve it. And we're comfortable with that based on the conversations that we've had with Idaho Power. In terms of rate setting, that's something that's beyond our control. As you know, the rate setting is something that is done at the PUC. Idaho Power goes to the PUC and justifies those rates on a yearly basis. Again, that's got a bunch of factors that are associated with it that we certainly just can't control and shouldn't be something that this project gets judged by. So, so that was power. Was there anything else that?
The other thing that was brought up was on your wastewater treatment. That I think basically the answer to that would be that DEQ, you're required to do permitting through DEQ. You're required to do reports, and violations are as much as a dribble on the ground. You get in trouble for that. So unless there's anything else you want to add to that, but I just wanted to clarify that you don't get to do whatever you want with wastewater.
That's correct,
so
Mr.
you
Mayor.
understand.
Yeah, no, we absolutely understand that. It's DEQ and it's Central District Health. That is reviewing the soil conditions, identifying whether it percolates in the way that it should. As the mayor stated, there are specific requirements on all that, and all of that we have to have in place and approved before we could open. Similar requirements apply to the drinking water. So if we're going to be using drinking water in the facility or using it for the coolant, if it comes out of the facility, those are all things that are regulated that the city doesn't have to worry about. Those are things that the state worries about.
Okay. Councilmember McPherson.
Maybe you can't speak to this yet, but when people go out Locust Grove Road now, technically, I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but where the pavement ends at the edge of the Yamamoto farm there is the mile dirt stretch of Barker Road that is their private road essentially. Then it picks up as county road again from Eagle Road back to Cloverdale. With fire code, will that be a county through road at that point then? Because I know a lot of people drive by Meta just to see the magnitude of what it is. And I feel that if this passes and construction or whatever, people will want to see another magnitude of a project being built. And then they drive out and now it's a dead end into your gates, or is that going to be a through, and maybe you don't know that yet, I don't know.
No, so I think Doug hit it on the head when he said that the layout there is somewhat conceptual at this point. What we do know is that it's secondary only over there. There's nothing that would prevent someone coming down Locust Grove, you know, just the onlooker, and being able to look at the site from the west side. But we're not anticipating asking for any new easements or creating any new public right-of-way beyond what currently exists, so
So it won't loop, basically, is what you're saying?
That's correct, yeah. No new, we're not gonna infringe on anybody's property rights. We're not asking we're not asking any of the agencies to condemn any new rights of way.
Okay.
I guess this is a silly follow-up question, but how much control is I know you don't have the developer, but the management of this place, are they gonna be able to control their employees taking shortcuts down Locust Grove?
Yeah, Councilmember Laraway, so when we do emergency secondary access, we will have that either bollarded it off or gated off. We would work with Chief Lawrence in making sure that that's something that the fire and police can get through, but it's not something that other folks would be able to get through. It's not gonna be a sneaky shortcut.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes,
How many,
Councilmember Bruce.
how many megawatt facility is this gonna be?
Are you calling up an expert again?
I'm calling an expert.
John Hanley, 11401 Lamar Avenue, Overland Park. Right now, I think it's planned for somewhere between 600 and 800 megawatts at full build-out. That's not going to happen overnight. Really, the first building won't even happen overnight. The scale of these things takes some time to construct, and then we're still working with limitations from Idaho Power. We can't just will electricity into existence. We have to go along with what they're able to provide for everyone. We don't get to pick and choose the electrons that are coming off the system either. We get the same access that everyone else does.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was just curious. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
I have just one quick question. So, and you may not be able to well, I'll just throw it out there. If this is a perfect world for you, when does a shovel hit the dirt? Approximately what year?
In a perfect world, John Hanley again, 11401. In a perfect world, it was about 3 years ago, but more realistically, it's probably going to wind up being just with design review, with any kind of construction permitting that goes on, with all of the regulations and the permitting that has to happen to the state level as well. I'd say we'll be aiming for 2026. I think that's aspirational.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wow.
We got a grin from Doug, so.
All right, further questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You have any other questions?
Well, I wanted to bring up just a few things.
I was gonna close the public hearing.
Before the public hearing closes, because I think I'm in favor of tabling this for more public comment, for one. We talked about ACHD, I'm not gonna go into too much into that, but the school talks, I think both parties expressed interest in continuing their talks, which might affect our decision. And the power thing, I'd like to know more, I don't know about impact study, but something a little bit more on that.
I think a lot of that, I don't think they'll know until we tell them yes or no. Right, I think a lot of that has to hinge on.
Morgan?
Thank you, Mayor. I just hear you talking about this. And,
Morgan Treasurer.
Oh, Morgan Treasurer, Economic Development Director, City of Kuna. It's late. So to answer your question about the power, because this is something that we have gone through with Meta as well, I think it's important to delineate the fact that it is a process, kind of like Keith alluded to, that exists entirely outside of the control of Idaho Power and the municipalities. So that entire process is regulated by the Public Utilities Commission. Any project right now that requires over 40 megawatts of power goes through an entirely separate process for both their infrastructure planning and their rate setting than any other customer, specifically and statutorily required to protect the average ratepayer. They set aside and set separate all of the costs for their power generation, their build, their rate, and evaluate it separately than a regular ratepayer. It has its own whole situation. And I just know that that's a technicality that not everyone is aware of. So when it comes to the power, it's a completely separate study. I believe in other applications, you've actually seen those letters that come through the PUC, but that would be something that we wouldn't see, and that process wouldn't be initiated until further down the line. The applicant or the project couldn't even make those applications until they were further through the land process with us.
So I guess my, and I understand and appreciate that, it's when we say Idaho Power has a throughput of 4,000 megawatts or something like that, and then what would, in this case, you know, a 15% increase to that? That's why that would be a shock to the system. No pun intended, I guess.
And that's what, and you're right, that's why they go through studies that take years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to work the addition of those large load requests back into the standard, like 20-year, much like we do our planning, you know, the 20-year, then we have a 10-year and a 5-year in our immediate capital plan. Idaho Power operates in a very similar way. And so when they do these large load studies, they evaluate how that additional load accelerates their existing plan to make sure that they're capturing the costs so that that doesn't go on to the standard ratepayer.
And I understand they're gonna do their best, yeah, that's.
And yes, it's a process as regulated as anything else that we deal with.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
No? Mr. Mayor, do you have any questions?
No, I think,
I move we close the public hearing and move to deliberation.
Second.
motion's made and seconded to close the public hearing and move to deliberation. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Yes, I just wanted to, I think there's value in additional public comment after hearing all these people who didn't know it until an hour before or the day before or something like that. So that was, I guess, why
I think we can still move to, we can reopen the public comment once we talk through it, and if we decide to table it, we can.
Yeah, if that's the case, then I'm
Yeah.
on board then.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Who wants to start? Anybody?
Bill? I guess, so, yeah, I mean, I think that, I've always been concerned about the zoning for that, and that somebody can come in and start building houses in there. It would require a little more, work, but there is already approval for that, and, I guess, just putting a lot of houses out there, I don't think is gonna be beneficial for anyone. We set up our industrial zone for a reason, however, they have negotiated through with the owners of this property, and I don't think that it's a bad use of that property, so I think I'd rather see this than a bunch of houses out there.
I gotta apply logic to this, and even though it's zoned as agricultural, if nobody's gonna farm it, it's gonna go into dilapidation. It's gonna go into weeds. They're not gonna be able to farm it. Nobody's gonna farm it. So it doesn't make much sense to leave it agriculture. It's all their property. If they choose to dispose of it, that's fine. Nobody's gonna farm it. So why keep the zone?
I
That's
think-
just logic.
Yeah, I think I'll break it up into two things. I look at it as obviously data centers and the amount of power they consume, and then we're gonna put something that consumes that amount of power around all these houses. Secondly, we did build an industrial, section for stuff like this. You know, I actually, you had heard talks about a data center, but I didn't see the project until we got it Friday. And I was blown away that we put it over here. I had no idea it was going there. All these roads that are on this corridor all have to be updated. Everything around here is gonna change. If you look at where Meta's at, that's why we put everything out there. That's why we put trim joists. That's why we have, the rendering planned. This is what we were gonna put our industrial park. When we went over our comprehensive plan, this said this, we're gonna put it way out here. And that's what we decided to do, so I have no idea why we would even think about putting it right there. Look at the map.
Well, I can think of two reasons. One, the power runs right through the property, and they have their own well already. They don't have to drill it and cause more water problems out at the industrial. That's just my 2 cents.
So if you look at an 800 megawatt power, once it's built out, that'll be enough power for 800 to a million homes, 800,000 to a million homes. And we're gonna set that all right there.
I'm assuming that's 10 years down the road, though.
When it's built out, that's what I said. So those are my concerns. I think we put an industrial area out there for that. And for that reason, I'll be a no.
I think the ACHD, you know, when we get the traffic studies, that's the minimal. We've
Oh,
been
yeah.
dealing with that for years. So like you were saying, there's gonna be some massive improvements that are gonna have to happen. I mean, just drive down in the afternoon on Cunamore Road, which is actually a pretty heavy thoroughfare between Trim Joist and Meta, the CSB Packers, and then going back into town. Sometimes that stop, that four-way stop is a mile or longer. Imagine since Meta won't be built out for another few years, then you'll have a couple of that four-way stop is gonna be something else. So, that's a big concern, of course. I like the idea of being willing to go back to the table of the schools. But again, I'm of the thought that this is huge impact to the city, and I don't know, might take more time to consider some of these things. Might not be a bad idea.
Mr. Gregg?
Yeah, you know, traffic, Locust Grove, we touched on all the things. Definitely, even assuring that all the traffic goes Cloverdale and that, you know, the improvements that have to be done there, the turn onto Barker Road is, you know, subpar at best. Barker Road for that mile west back to Eagle Road is in very, very rough shape. There's potholes that, I don't know how these guys and gals were saying they bicycle down that, because they must weave and bob pretty good, because it's rough. So there's gonna be lots of improvements that have to be made. You know, there's pluses and minuses, I agree. I don't want the couple thousand potential houses out there, because you do that and Locust Grove takes all that traffic, without a doubt, and Cloverdale, but, you know, it will all be there. And I see the desire for the Yamamotos to retire and do what they want with their land, so there's that aspect. But then the flip side is that the best place for a humongous data center? I don't think I agree with that, but I'm kind of with Mr. Biggs about maybe pumping the brakes for just a minute and hearing more testimony. Maybe we can get some better answers out of ACHD, probably not, but at least we can attempt, maybe, I don't know. We've got
Mark?
lots of thoughts.
Mark Bybee, City Attorney, 5700 East Franklin Road, Suite 200, Nampa, Idaho. Just when I hear the comments about and consideration to possibly table, I've been not just only in this city, but in several cities just with applications like this where we receive lots of testimony and we end up, the city council will often consider tabling. not necessarily with an eye towards what they're looking to receive at the next hearing. And so if the council's considering it, my advice, just from prior experience here would be, what are we tabling for? What are we asking the applicant to come back with? What type of information are we looking to receive through the next bit of testimony? Are we seeking to have ACHD come and specifically comment? And the reason being is I've seen councils or P&Z commissions kind of get stuck in endless tabling and hearing continuances without really an end in sight. And so it's not that you can't table, I just caution and encourage, what are we tabling for? I think that's an important consideration.
Thank you. Councilmember Laraway, what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess the reason we would be tabling it, that's brought to my attention, if you want to have more public testimony because of the people that were not allowed to speak, that'd be the only reason that we could do that.
In schools, I think they said they wanted to go back to the table as well, I thought.
Well, I don't know that we can force.
No, we can't force
anything like that, so that, I wouldn't consider that to be
I mean, I think with some folks that had heard it only this afternoon, but, I mean, I think that's gonna be your decision, your guys' decision. I'll go with what you want. I still think that that's the wrong place for it. Because if we put it there, then we're opening the door too for all of this to be out industrial, because it's not just gonna be there. Then they'll want to do it here, then they'll want to do it here, and then we'll have industrial all the way from, just west of Eagle all the way out Cunamora. Or do we say no, or do we let a couple more pop in here, and then we say, no, we're keeping ag there? We went through tons of meetings to decide what we wanted our future land use map to look like. And I think we should really think about that when we make this decision. But if you guys want to table it, that's fine. You tell me what you want to do.
So I guess I have this question about, I think we've talked about this situation before. If it were denied, does that mean turn right around and go to the county and try to put in
It's already annexed.
It's in our impact area, right?
It's already annexed.
It's already annexed, okay, so.
It's already annexed and zoned residential.
So this is the one roadblock that you would hit.
Well, I take that back. It's actually
Can I just
zoned
tune in on that?
Yeah, the developer.
For the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning Director. Just to clarify, the property is annexed. It is zoned ag, and they do have a development agreement that's been in standing since 2008 that allows them to submit for comprehensive plan map amendments, and it allows them to submit for rezone applications. And the city has agreed to service the property should they reach those mitigation agreements with the bodies listed in staff's presentation. So that needs to be reflected as to whatever decision the council makes. This property does have a development agreement on it, and the city has made commitments to allow it to develop should they meet the conditions of the development agreement.
So what are you saying in layman's terms there, Doug?
For the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning Director, that's really all there is to say.
What do you guys want to do?
So basically, if somebody comes in with that development agreement, they want to build it out residential, we've already agreed to.
So for the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning Director, and just to provide like a little context to the bigger picture, this development agreement doesn't just cover this 640 acres, it covers 3,424 acres, and it allows them to develop at a gross density of 3 dwelling units per acre across that entire acreage, with no specific density in any particular location, it's just the gross. So it could be more or less concentrated in separate areas. And when this development agreement was originally approved, there was no specific contemplation upon what use we would and would not grant, so they're allowed to ask for uses that aren't simply residential.
So we'd have a lot more traffic on Locust Grove.
Well, we'd still run into the sewer and school district thing.
Every person who would come forward on that 3,424 acres would be required by that DA to go to the table with all of those agencies to mitigate their impact, whatever that is.
Mark, go ahead.
Mark Bybee, City Attorney. Councilman Bruce, kind of to your question, when you said in layman's terms, kind of what are you talking about there? I think.
He just answered it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, he answered it. Thank you.
All right.
Motion, anybody? What do you want to do? You want to table it? You want to approve it? You want to deny it?
The problem with tabling it is, what more are we gonna gain, like they said? I mean, we could ask for more input from ACHD, but their policy is they don't give us the traffic impact
Yep,
study stuff
until they
until
have
the
it.
plat.
Yeah.
So we don't have that, we have a map change, is what they're calling for.
And this hearing was quite a bit different from the planning and zoning, when it came before planning and zoning.
Well, it's going to take a lot of money too for them to put out to decide, so they want it rezoned first before they get fully in bed with it, which I understand.
My biggest concern is if not this, what?
Yeah. I mean,
Because there's no restrictions on what can be built there. Somebody could reasonably take that 300 acres and put huge apartment buildings in one spot and still meet the overall R3 designation for the total.
Well, if they built
land
schools, I mean, we'd still be a school thing, right? And a sewer thing, so I get it and I understand that. I think that I just revert back to, we have an industrial area, but I won't talk about that anymore, so you.
Well,
I mean, I'm with you too, I get that, there's a water issue there, they have water here.
Yeah.
And I'm playing both sides, because I'm
Yeah.
really torn on this. I mean, you have a family's right to sell their land, it was the vision of, Dwayne to do this and move on, but the effects it has on everyone else is kind of hard to swallow too.
Yeah.
We figured out the traffic thing-ish, and they're more than willing to bring a lot of money to the table for fire and police to help with that, hopefully more for the schools, but there's still a pretty good chunk there now. I won't call it what I did before, that was a little much. But, it goes both ways.
And I think if we heard tonight, and I'm trying not to make this personal because this is a business decision, most of the complaint that we had tonight was the traffic on Locust Grove. We've solved that. That's not the Locust Grove traffic wasn't the
King
big
is still-
problem.
yeah, King-
I heard that every time somebody stood up.
Please don't yell out from the audience. The council is
I won't do
deliberating. Thank you.
So anyway, my point being is, I'm gonna make a motion, we approve 2401-CPM Comprehensive Map Plan, 2401-ZZ rezone, and as they follow staff instructions, staff recommendations.
Mark?
Mayor, can I have it on that? I think what Councilman Laraway is saying there is with the staff conditions, I would note that the applicant offered 2 additional conditions in his rebuttal. And one of those conditions was that the Locust Grove access only be secondary emergency access as a condition, and the other one had to do with providing landscape and maintenance plan for that buffer zone to the north of where they're planning to develop. And so I think those were 2 other offered conditions. I don't know whether you're intending to include those in your motion or
Yes.
not.
I just forgot about it because we've had so many. No. And also, the recommendation that the landscape, the property to the north, and that you also use Locust Grove as a secondary emergency entrance exit only.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Again, this is a tough one. It's down the middle between, you know, a family's rights. Do we think it should go there? Have we addressed the traffic or not?
I don't think it's traffic. I think there's more to it than that. It's,
Yeah, I'm not trying to think of next year, I'm trying to think of 10 years down the road.
yeah, I mean, I look at there's just so, I mean, we don't even know what the first one's gonna entail. It hasn't even been built yet. We don't even know what that's gonna do. It's still under construction. We have no idea. But yet, we're gonna start digging on another one.
I think it's called making the best decision with the information you have now.
That's why I'm a no.
Second on the motion?
I'll
Or no?
second the motion.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay. Falls on you, Mr. Mayor.
I hate when you guys do that. All right. I guess just based on past history on doing what we think we really need to do for the good of the community, the Spring Rock thing out there, we didn't annex it. That turned out bad. And when I think about what can happen with this, if we don't do this, I think it can also turn out bad. So for that reason, I'm going to be a positive on the motion. So that motion will carry 3-2. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Does he have to take a?
Mayor, do you want to take a quick recess to let individuals leave?
Sure. I think all we have left is 4 ordinances. I said yes.
They'll edit something. They'll chime something.
Oh, no, it's okay. It is what it is, just a vote.
I'm so torn, you know, it's. Well, I weigh in on the family's right to say. You know, I mean, they fixed the road thing, and that was the biggest. Exactly, is it gonna go to a shitload of houses? That's what I worry about.
I just want to mention that this is a recess. The meeting is still in session. So if you are leaving, please make your way out so we can keep the meeting going as soon as possible. Thank you.
Letters. Just for the file.
Put these over there so I don't send them down the bathroom or something.
If you're planning to stay for the rest of the meeting, please take your seats so we can have council members and the mayor return so we can continue the meeting, please. Thank you.
Trying to get rid of that sales tax.
You know what I've always wanted? Yes. Vodka. Need a shot? It's vodka.
I didn't know if you had bottled water.
Oh, I'll grab you.
I'm good, thanks. My wife's texting me.
Let's roll.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting back to order. We are at business items. Consideration to approve ordinance 2509. An ordinance of the City Council of Kuna, Idaho, amending Section 17, Chapter 3, Title 3, Kuna City Code to make any violation of Title 3, Chapter 3 punishable as a misdemeanor criminal offense, and directing the city clerk and providing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, I move we waive the three readings of ordinance 2025-09.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve ordinance 2025-09.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for approval. Any discussion on that motion? Nathan, would you poll the council?
Councilmember McPherson?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Laraway?
Yes.
Council President Bruce?
Yes.
And that motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve a summary of publication for ordinance 2025-09.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for approval of a summary publication. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve ordinance 2025-07A, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Kuna making certain findings and amending Chapter 2, Section 3 of Title 5, Kuna City Code, General Definitions, and amending Chapter 8, Part 503 of Title 5, Kuna City Code, Official Schedule of District Land Use and Regulations, and amending Chapter 8, Part 1004 of Title 5, Kuna City Code, provisions for unique land uses, and providing a severability clause, and directing the city clerk and providing an effective date.
I move we waive three readings of ordinance 2025-07A.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to waive the three readings. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
I move we approve ordinance 2025-07A.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Any discussion on that motion? Nathan, would you poll council?
Councilmember McPherson?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Laraway?
Yes.
Council President Bruce?
Yes.
And that motion carries.
I move we approve a summary publication of ordinance 2025-07A.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for summary publication. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Consideration to approve ordinance 2025-10, a municipal annexation and zoning ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cuna, making certain findings and declaration of authority and annexing certain real properties to wit, Ada County Assessor's parcel numbers, S131-033-6400, owned by Stephen and Charlene Wiscombe, within the unincorporated area of Ada County, Idaho, and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Cuna, into the City of Cuna, Idaho, and establishing the zoning classifications of said real properties, and directing the city engineer and city clerk, and providing an effective date.
I move we waive 3 readings of ordinance 2025-10.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to waive the 3 readings. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move we approve ordinance 2025-10.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the ordinance. Nathan, would you poll the council?
Councilmember McPherson?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Laraway?
Yes.
Council President Bruce?
Yes.
And that motion carries. Consideration to approve ordinance 2025-11, a municipal annexation and zoning ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cuna, making certain findings and declaration of authority and correcting ordinance 2024-36, legal description, closure error, annexing certain real properties to wit, Ada County Assessor's parcel number S20082333000, owned by Star Acres Properties within the unincorporated area of Ada County, Idaho, and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Cuna into the City of Cuna, Idaho, and establishing the zoning classifications of said real properties, and directing the city engineer and the city clerk, and providing an effective date.
I move we waive the 3 readings of ordinance 2025-11.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to waive the 3 readings. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move we approve ordinance 2025-11.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Nathan, would you poll the council, please?
Councilmember McPherson?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Laraway?
Yes.
Council President Bruce?
Yes.
And that motion carries. Mayor, council announcements. Is there anything that anybody wishes to announce?
Yes. I would like to discuss that parks have been busy again working on their stuff and improving little pocket parks and stuff and doing a lot of good work around town. Over by Crimson Point's one area, they finished Patagonia up. Looks great if you haven't been by either one of those. And a huge shout out to the police. Their detectives have been very busy doing detective things. I won't go into great detail, but we had some interaction with them over the past couple of weeks, and they're great to work with. And Chief's crew has done a great job out here and continue to do good work and solve crime and keep Cuna a better place to be. So shout out to them.
We have a great police department.
Yeah,
We really do.
absolutely.
There's a lot of good stuff that gets taken care of because they're here. So, pretty impressive stuff.
Hopefully session's done soon at the Capitol. Pray for us, everybody up there.
Pray for me, please.
It's these last 2 weeks of a lot of jockeying for position up there. So we're waiting on the final appropriation bills, and then we should be done, because honestly, the bills do not get better as time goes on. They actually get worse. So we need to go home as soon as possible. So Other than that, that's about it.
I'd like to, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank Morgan Treasure. I know this is her last meeting, and I want to wish her the best of luck as she moves on to the big city. And from a personal aspect, for the last 2.5 years I've been here, there's been many eye rolls and explanations and stuff, but I have greatly appreciated you've educated me more than you know.
Deep sighs.
Even tonight, yeah. Even tonight about power. But I'm gonna miss you, and I just wish you the best of luck.
But be it known, if this thing out south turns into a failure, we're hanging it on you.
Yeah, that was gonna be my last
Sorry,
thing.
I
No,
stole
you're
thunder.
fine, you're fine. She certainly deserves the, yeah, she certainly deserves the acknowledgement. And we will miss her, and we're gonna have to find somebody else to sit in her chair, so.
And just because she's moved to another place does not mean that we will stop calling her and asking her questions.
Bingo.
That's right.
We did not approve this, as I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for everything.
Okay, so then one other thing, we have, as you recall, we've done Mayor Youth Awards every year. The city of Boise did it for quite a while, then COVID hit, they quit doing it, so we continued. City of Boise picked it up again last year. They sent notification out to the CUNA School District this year, and not one nomination was sent in to Mayor Youth Awards this year. So, what we're doing is we're doing our, we're not doing it through the city of Boise, we're doing our very own. We're gonna send those out. Sulema's working on that, so I'm quite certain that there are some students in the CUNA School District that deserve awards for exemplary
Heck yeah.
honors. But at any rate, that's what we're doing. So those awards are open until the 18th of this month. So it's on our front of our city website, right on the very front page. So you can't miss it if you click in there. But if you know anyone that deserves recognition, then please don't feel hesitant to do so. I was just really surprised. Now, that said, there's been quite a bit of turnover at school, so I'm not even sure that the city of Boise contacted the right people for that to happen. I don't know what happened, but I can't imagine that was completely ignored, so. Anyway, we're gonna try and make it happen on our own this year, and then work with the city of Boise next year on maybe making that happen, and a little more with the school district, so.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Well,
That is all I have. If nobody else has anything else.
Mr. Speaker, I move we adjourn, or Mr. Mayor.
Sendai.
Yeah, please.
We are adjourned.